This conference will now be recorded.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good morning to all. The next regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors will take place Friday, June 3rd, 2022 at 9 a.m. at the Community Center, 3500 Edgewater Drive, Sebring, Florida, 33872. Please silence or turn off your cell phones. We'll start with the consent agenda. First on that is minutes of the Board of Supervisors, regular meeting held May 6th, 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any comments from the board on the minutes? Any comments from the public on the minutes? Okay, Deb.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes.
Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
President Brooks.
Yes. Next would be the golf financials for March 2022. I have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any comments? This is yours, Michael. Any comments from the board? Any questions? I have a couple of questions, if I may. Just for my own edification, I probably should have called you on this. On page, I guess page 23, the average rate, the APR, and the non-member APR, just explain those to me, what exactly they are. I think I know, but I want to just verify it. In other words, it says for like the average rate this year is $2.88 higher than it was last year.
Where are you at?
Huh?
Where are you at?
Page 23.
But you just said.
I'm on average rate.
Okay.
If you
Right.
go to the right versus prior year, it's $2.88 higher.
Oh, got there. Okay, got it.
And I was just, does that mean, well, what exactly does that mean?
Well, I believe those APR numbers, that includes not only just golf revenue, but it includes all the revenue in golf as well, which is just your average dollar per round, basically. So for every person that goes down the course, that's the average dollar that's coming into the club.
So the average rate is what people pay to play golf.
Yes, plus other revenue, yeah.
The APR is what?
Well, that's your average dollar per round. And then the non-member APR, and I may have to see all what flows into that to separate those two out. Off the top of my head, I don't know exactly what flows into that number for that rate.
What's the difference between average rate and APR? I'm sorry.
Well, that's what the APR is. It's,
But you got it listed here twice.
right. You have APR and then you have non-member APR.
Huh?
They're not the same number.
They're not the same number. You have the same number for non-member APR and average rate. But the average rate and the APR is a different number.
Probably a combination.
I don't know. That's what I mean. I just wanted clarification.
Right. So the average rate would be the green. The APR includes more than just greens fees. So if they buy a bucket of balls, that would go into the APR. That's dollar per round for all golf revenue. Average rate would be the green fee only. Does that make sense? So if I
That's what I
paid
mean.
average the $44 per round, but I buy a $3 bucket of balls on average, then that brings up the APR.
But the non-member APR is less than APR.
Like I said, I'm not exactly sure what flows into that non-member APR. I have not dove into that, but I'd be happy to do so.
Well, let's do this. I'm sorry.
It would be the same thing, Mike. The non-member is non-member revenue. That means they are outside guests. the same thing would apply.
Right, but as far as,
Bucket of balls,
Why don't-
gloves,
as far as exactly what numbers flow into the non-member one, I don't know, but as far as the other one goes,
Why
that
don't we
would,
just do this at the next meeting? Can you just bring back and tell us what these are?
I'll let you know exactly what flows into those, yes.
So it's page 23, that middle section, average rate APR and non-member APR. Just give me a little bit of a clarification, or give us a little bit of a,
Michael, when you register a golf on your computer, does it not go in there automatically? Do you not have divisions set on your computer?
Yes,
In
but
the
as far,
website?
when it goes from the POS to all our systems and all that, how it flows in there, I'm gonna dig into that a little deeper and explain exactly what's going where, okay?
Does the APR rate include the non-member APR rate?
That's to the same point. I'm not sure what flows into the non-member one. Yep.
see, what I'm looking to find out is how much improvement have made, more so with the outside play, in collecting
Right.
monies closer to what we supposedly should be charging them, or the top ceiling of what we should be charging them.
Right.
So if I'm reading it right, it may be that we've improved $2.88 per
And that,
round
and that
over
is
last
correct.
year,
Right.
which is a good thing.
Exactly.
But I just
That is
want a
correct.
clarification.
Correct.
Okay. Uh, I assume that the expenses for maintenance are getting out of control in March because of what happened with the golf course. Is that true?
Yeah, when you see the April financials come out, you're going to see certain line items that for sure are over budget, especially top dressing sand. As I'm actually working through those right now, it's not crazy out of line with the expenses. Some line items are over, some are under. You're going to see some of that probably flow a little bit into May as well, but it's not on the bottom line. It's not way out of line.
And when you say all these listings on page 24, where it says in line,
That's basically
That's
the
just your
month
way
to
of
month to
saying-
date to budget. That means it was on target for the month. Yes. That is what I'm stating.
because if you look at labor on page 27, we're spending a lot more labor than
Right.
when we were budgeted to. We're actually running about $100,000 more in labor than we were budgeted for.
I'm more looking at the month financials for that goes. And you got to also remember, you got to look at it as a percentage as well. So labor is a percentage of sales. So on the golf side, if you're looking at golf labor, if we do $50,000 of extra revenue, it's going to require more labor to do that. So if we're over budget in revenue, we should be a little bit over budget in labor. Doesn't always work that way. Sometimes we're able to be efficient and kind of stick to the budget, but just depending on what we're doing,
If we do
you tend to be a little
$50,000 more in golf revenue, why would we need more labor? I assume we do the labor,
Sure.
whether we have 2
If-
rounds or 10 rounds.
Sure. And like I said, it all depends on what exactly we're doing. So if we say we bring in another tournament, if we have an extra tournament that we did not really budget for, that's going to bring in extra revenue, but it's going to require more labor to execute that tournament than it may if we would have just ran regular tee times. It's not always apples to apples. We're looking to keep the percentage the same. Um, Same thing you would do in F&B sales. You're trying to keep the percentage the same. You can't really tie it down to every little perfect day to day because every day is a little bit different. Running straight tee times requires less labor than a tournament shotgun. So,
Less labor what, on the golf course?
I'm sorry.
Less labor on the golf course?
It requires less labor for the golf operations. If you're looking at golf maintenance, that is running slightly high for the year. But as far as operational labor, golf shop help, starters, rangers, cart guys, and those things, that's where you're going to want to keep your percentages the same. Does that make sense?
You're dancing. Okay, I'll buy it for now, but I guess my concerns is additional rounds and additional plays should not justify additional expenses on the course. Now, damage on the course,
Right,
problems with the greens, that's another subject. But I'm just saying, in general, more rounds does not dictate more expenses.
For golf course maintenance.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, we'll leave it at that for now. I do have one other question on a check that we wrote. Why would we give In on the Lakes $2,000?
So the Citrus Golf Trail is housed, the treasurer for the Citrus Golf Trail is the Inn on the Lakes, which is, the Inn on the Lakes is the hotel partner for the Citrus Golf Trail. So that is our dues to the Citrus Golf Trail.
Why didn't we write it out to the Citrus Golf Trail?
It, like I said, it's housed through the Inn on the Lakes. They are the treasurer for the Citrus Golf Trail. I'm assuming that number rings a bell in my head. That's
I don't know either. I'm just,
Right.
it just looks strange that we'd write a hotel a check for $2,000.
right. That, I'm not 100% correct on that, but that number lines up exactly with that. So it should be that. And I will verify that if you'd like. But there's no other reason we would write a check to them.
Yeah, I'd like for you to verify it and then tell me why we don't write it to the Citrus Golf Trail. Which I assume, I mean, what does the Inn Lakes do? They sign it over to them? Or are they part of the Citrus Golf Trail?
They are.
Whatever.
Here we go again.
The Inn on the Lakes is part of the Citrus Golf Trail. They are the hotel accommodations partner for the trail itself. When the trail was organized, Phil Hatfield at the Inn on the Lakes took on the treasurer's role. So that is where that accounting goes for.
I would think, just check it out. I don't think that's.
I will
what-
verify that for
I
you,
think we
but
should have
I'm
written a
pretty
check to
sure.
them,
Yes.
not to a hotel. I'm sure it's all above board, but just to be on the safe side.
Absolutely.
If that's the way it is being set up, I think Citrus Golf needs to look at the possibility of having their own bank account, if you will, to be ready to check to In on the Lakes. It just doesn't sit quite right with me. It's just,
With you either?
it's destined for.
Let's check it out and let us know.
I'll verify all that.
I'm not saying he's doing anything wrong, but I think it'd just be better and cleaner if it was going to Citrus Golf.
That's all I had. Does anybody from the board have anything else they'd like to ask him about the report? Anybody from the public? Okay, thank you, Michael. Can we have a vote?
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes.
Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
President Brooks.
Yes. All right, moving on, public comments. This is for anybody who would like to say anything that we are not still to discuss at this meeting today. Are there any public comments? Okay. Moving on, Scott Court.
Good morning. A couple things to report on. This past Tuesday, I was successful in getting the motion passed for the first 9 items that you had submitted for the American Rescue Plan funding for your district, the wastewater projects. Like I'd reported during your last meeting, you had submitted 10 items, totaling a little bit over $1.5 million. That last item being that $950,000 item, which we didn't have the budget for that I explained last time. My goal was to get the other 9 items approved, which I believe was $561,100, and that did pass the commission this past Tuesday. So staff will be getting with your manager, with your staff, and let them know how those funds will be dispersed when those projects take place in your community. So that's good news. I was able to get that through. I have a meeting Monday afternoon at 2 p.m. with our county administrator, our director from Road and Bridge, and our county engineer to discuss Schumacher Road project. So I should have some more information on that at your next meeting. That's all I have for you today, unless you have any questions.
Thank you both for your effort on that.
Yep. Yeah, Chris attended the meeting and spoke. They had a few questions for him, but he got up and represented you folks well. and we were able to get it passed. Any other questions?
comments?
Good job.
I appreciate Scott carried the flag up the hill.
Yeah.
And it was 3-2, so it was close. It was kind of teetering there for a while, but I told each of the commissioners afterwards we appreciated their support, and we did reiterate, Sun and Lake's a big community. We're over 10,000 people right now and growing rapidly, and I think it all went over well. And we thank you, Scott. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate your comments. And like I said, it passed 3-2, so it passed. So your board, you got 5 on your board, so. We got it 3-2, and so we got it done for you, and certainly appreciate you folks out here. And certainly, those projects also being tied to servicing the hospital and the school and things like that, that certainly carried some weight in the proposal. So that helped out, and certainly, that the funds came back available from the Spring Lake broadband project, which Xfinity ended up taking that expense. So that was able to put some money back into the American Rescue Plan Fund, which now your 9 items will be on our earmarked project list moving forward. And like I said, our staff will work with your staff to facilitate that when those projects happen. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you will have until, and staff can verify this with Chris, either to 2024 or 2025 that those projects will have to, at a minimum, be implemented and started. Okay, so he will share that with your staff to make sure what the guidelines are for the use of those funds. And like I says, I will report back on the next meeting to update you on the Schumacher Road.
Okay, I too would like to thank both you guys for your efforts.
I appreciate it. I mean,
I think this is
certainly.
probably the first time.
Yeah, exactly. To come up with some good news that you guys actually gonna like me when I leave here. So, we're trying, certainly, like I said, the county was awarding some funds through that American Rescue Plan, and I explained to them that you folks had some management changes during that time when that first came out, and had an interim manager and what have you, and that I didn't want to hold that being something that would not make you eligible in the future. And so we were fortunate that the funds came back available. You had a manager in place and was able to submit those projects. And every one of the projects, the 10 project that you submitted, scored the highest as far as eligibility. So that certainly helped. So, I think it's a win-win situation for everybody, and certainly glad to be able to help out.
Okay, thank you again. Any public comments or questions for this gentleman?
Thank you so much.
Don't go too far. State your name, please.
Pat Holmes, resident. The only question I'm sorry, I haven't attended the meetings lately. Is there any update on the recycle bins?
Yeah, the engineering department did give a little update at our past Tuesday's meeting. And don't quote me totally on memory, but the Lake Placid facility is going to be up and running, I believe, by the 1st of June. Avon Park will be the next facility, and they're looking no later than the 1st of July on that. And then the Sebring facility, which is by the YMCA and Max Lawn Ball Fields, 1st of August. So all the interlocal agreements have been set up with the municipalities. Lake Placid construction is about done, and they're proceeding now on starting on Avon Park. So I know it's been a little bit longer than expected, but the wheels of government turn slowly. When you're working with other governments and municipalities, you get attorneys involved and other boards involved. So there's a lot of questions and things that go back and forth. The county's position on that with the municipalities is because, under the old curbside recycling program, that was only offered to those in the unincorporated area of Highlands County that get garbage service from the county, not to the municipalities. They have their own garbage service. Well, now that we've opened and quit the curbside recycling and the drop-off locations, we're not checking IDs. Of course, we'll take recycling from anybody because that's what we want to do and try to do our best as we can there. So that was kind of, I guess, for lack of their skin in the game, is to provide the location, the real estate for these locations. So that was their contribution towards being able to offer recycling to their residents within the municipalities, because none of the municipalities have a recycling program. The county was the only one that had curbside, and we've talked about that before, why we had to change that. So yes, So we're hoping June, July, and August, first Lake Placid, Avon Park, then Sebring. We will be doing some announcements in the newspaper and other things to get that information out. They will be manned 3.5 days per week, and the hours will be posted, and they will be fenced and what have you. So they will not be able to accept any recycling on non-hours. And I know those hours will include half a day on Saturday for those people that are working. And one thing that we're going to be able to get back to recycling is glass, county, because we can use glass out at the landfill as cover. Believe it or not, we can crush up the glass and use it in a landfill to cover the landfill. So that's a plus, because in curbside recycling, glass was not acceptable when it was mixed in with the other items. Because the beauty to drop off recycling locations is you eliminate the contamination in the recycling. And that was why we had to stop curbside. If anybody watched Fox 13 News this morning, the city of Bradenton recently is changing their curbside recycling. They're discontinuing it for the same reason, because of the contamination to the recycling. So this is a win-win, I believe, for everybody, because we'll be doing what we're supposed to do as far as recycling. When they accept it, paper will go in a certain bin with the attendant there, glass will go in a certain bin. And when those items are separated, then there's a market for those items in the recycling stream. When they're all mixed together and they come out of a truck and you have to pick these things off a conveyor line, okay? As you know, help is not easy to get these days. It's very costly and expensive to do that. And what the recycling brings just doesn't pay when you have to put that amount of labor into sorting recycling. So I think it's going to work out really good. And I'm, like you, looking forward to getting it started.
Does that answer it for you, Pat? Yes. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to the action agenda. This is just an update on security and code enforcement recommendations and specifics that you may have come up with. This is Chris.
Sure. And we've had discussions with staff over the last few weeks, and at the last board meeting talked about trying to get some synergy with working with code enforcement and security. And we did a revised org chart. And what we've come up with as a proposal is really moving Bob Brumfield into the roads and drainage manager position, which George, who retired recently, was in, and then moving Bob Hiltz into lead at the code enforcement, and then having him hire a full-time security manager that would work under him. So while he would be running the code enforcement department, he'd also have security under him, and working together to improve that patrol and notice of violations. And that also is salary neutral, because those positions are open, so it's just moving across. The only other thing we had in there too is adding an administrative assistant under our finance position, and also putting district website, community services, getting Kelly moved into that standalone. Right now she works under Ariel because she held that banner as director of community services and recreation. Kelly's mostly handling that, so it would be moving Kelly more into standalone. She's in charge. She'd be the person here when you're dealing with community service issues, and also taking the lead on the website, and also website management and updates going under Deb.
Do you have the new chart for us?
Do we put it in the board? No.
Do we have copies of it? It's not in the current
I
one.
can get it to you. I'm sorry.
Well, let's do it this way, because I know it's probably better that they all see the new breakdown. And so get it to them this week.
Okay.
You guys look at it this week. If you have any questions or problems with it, we can discuss it at the next meeting. Otherwise, let me ask you this. I assume, I know the answer to this, but the monies, any salary adjustments are all in the current budget. Is that correct?
Yes.
So there's no, the budget is the budget. It's got it already included. So we're just looking to see if you guys agree with the new line.
Yeah.
Well, I don't need to look at your flow chart as long as you got the money. These are your employees. You're the one that's going to live or die with them. So it's okay with me. You just do what you think's the best for the district. because we don't hire, we don't have anything to say with that. We have something to do with your job, but
And I had several discussions, that this didn't come from the top down, it came from the bottom up. And I worked closely with Bob Hiltz and Bromfield to see what's workable for them and improve the organization and working together.
Okay, let's send out the chart.
I'll do that today.
And
You have it?
Yeah.
There was some on my desk. I don't know if they're in.
I saw it with the meeting that I had with you. You showed it to me, so
I can resend it.
I don't, maybe the rest of them didn't meet with you. I don't know, but I saw it.
We'll get it out.
And I had a conversation, a short phone conversation with Mark Breed, our special magistrate, about the last meeting, we talked about the training, what sort of training is required for, and he said that based on what's currently in our ordinance, that there's no requirement that our code enforcement people or the people that go around to look for code enforcement, as long as they've been trained as to our code enforcement, there's no state license that they would be required to hold, at least, based on how things are worded now. The one thing he did mention is that, he comes in and sits as special magistrate, what is it, twice a month, I think?
Right.
And
Been on flow.
so if we start having an increase in citations and notices that require that where people aren't paying and want to go talk to the special magistrate, that may be an unforeseen cost increase if it doubles or triples. The number of cases that he has to deal with. But other than that, he says that we have if Bob were to train our security people to look for or to issue code enforcement notices and citations, as long as we can document some sort of training on our end, he doesn't have an issue with that.
I know George has already left, so I would like to see this implemented as quickly as possible. I don't want to wait necessarily till October.
So would I, because that's what they need, and Chris.
Were you thinking about waiting till October? Or?
No.
Okay,
Good.
okay.
And Chris, I think
Okay,
it's a
I
good
just-
move. I think they work together anyways. And, Bob's been doing this a long time, so I think it's a great move you're doing.
You guys okay with this?
Bob? Yes.
Okay, so we'll say early congratulations to you both.
Bob?
I would, however, like to know when you will come back to us with Bob and explain to us exactly what security and code enforcement are going to do going forward, including that brochure that you had discussed, updating it, et cetera, et cetera. So how long do you think you need? When will be a good time to have that conversation?
Well, certainly, we could even bring that forward with the revised org chart and a business plan for that unit at the next board meeting or the one after. I'd say
You think you can pull it together by the next board meeting?
by the 20th, maybe not. I'd say the one after though.
I'd be more than happy to give you like a month and a half. There's a lot of things on everybody's plate. I understand that. I just want this addressed sometime this summer so that these guys we can all agree the direction they're going to go in and get it going.
We'll formalize it and get it within 30 days back to you.
Right, because we got to really move on this. Bob Hills is working 2 shifts every once in a while, and he shouldn't be working 2 shifts. So
Let me just say, hopefully in the budget, there should be no 2 shifts at all. So I'm hopeful that you guys have put in the budget enough to cover, enough coverage that we don't have this problem.
You have to get up.
Bob, come up here.
My problem, Mr. Brooks, right now is I'm down 5 people. And that's why that's the problem.
Are you down 5 people because they're Northerners?
No, I lost 2. Well, actually, I lost 4, and I got 1 down with a health issue right now. And I got to cover 21 shifts, and I've only got 17 people to cover. Only 17 shifts to cover. So the extra 4, I'm covering. And I'm not punching in or anything like that. I'm just kind of handling them for you because I don't want to make the budget go way out of whack. But
No, and I appreciate that, but I'm trying to avoid this.
I know, and that's what I'm trying. Trust me, I'm 100% with you on that.
So
I'm 100% with you.
maybe you need more than, how many people are you down
I-
for? Maybe
well-
you need 6.
Here's our other issue. the present condition with this lab core, there being like, okay, well, we have another person online waiting to come on board, waiting for clearances.
Okay.
And once I get that, I can cover the shifts. There, is that adequate, Ariel?
I mean, I won't,
What, wait a minute,
I just-
wait. I want to ask a question. How are you going to cover shift?
How am I going to cover the shift
Yeah.
with the extra person?
Are you putting one person on or two?
I'm
Now,
putting,
now, let us know today what you need.
well, we have 2 positions available. If I can get this person hired, Mike, I can get the shifts covered.
Okay.
And then Ariel and I and Chris will sit down and talk about that extra person
Right,
that we
Ariel.
usually have as an on-call.
All right, I have a question about this, because this has been coming up over and over and over. What is the problem with LabCorp?
no.
It's not a conversation we need to have here. We'll talk, can we talk about it offline?
Can we do that?
You can do that.
Yeah, you can come.
Okay,
You
all
can
right.
come see me.
Okay. All right,
Bob,
so,
all I'm trying to do is, this is budgets.
right,
I appreciate that.
If you don't have enough people and you start doubling up in the fall, I'm not going to be a happy guy. I'm asking you now to make sure you have enough people.
tell
So
us what you need.
I've
That's what
got
we
it.
wanna
I can
know.
hire 2 more people and I can get it done.
Right, don't, tell us
you
what
get, you guys
need.
get together, make
Yep.
sure that the
Right.
monies are there for what you need to get done.
Okay,
It's very simple.
Okay,
all right. Thank you.
All right, let's say in 30 days, Chris,
right.
you'll come back to us and talk to us about how we're going to proceed and
We'll have a formal business plan. We'll just lay it out how they're going to work together, who's going to hand out citations,
whatever you
how
got
it's
to
going to
do.
move forward.
Just so we all know what's going on and we all can support him in getting it done.
I also believe that there comes a time when a shift, if it's an exception occasionally, it doesn't need to be covered. The people there won't know that we don't have security running at that particular time. So I think the fact that we're trying to cover every shift every time with overtime, to me, I don't know that that's really necessary.
But we advertise 24-hour security, okay? So we advertise that and everything. So, I mean, yes, I agree. There were times that we wouldn't cover a shift, but Bob's been trying to avoid that. And
I understand that, but an exception,
right, exception,
still,
exactly,
it's,
an exception.
I just don't believe that we need to be covering with overtime if it's once in a while. To me, that's just a
I don't think we should be
you're
covering
using
with
overtime, are
overtime
you?
at all.
period. Right, I agree.
Without charging
So-
the district a penny.
I think we should.
But that's not right either. If
You're
you're
right.
putting in the hours, you should be paid.
You're
So
right.
to say that you're not punching the clock, that's not right
Yeah,
either.
what you said gets us in a lot of trouble.
True. Well, usually.
I mean, you're working off the clock, which we theoretically, I don't believe can allow.
Unless we put them on a salary. Unless we put
You
them on-
guys get together and
if we-
come back with what you want to do.
Right, if we put them on
This is
salary.
the
it
third
can be
time
done.
I've asked. Come on.
Right. You heard it. Yes. You know what you need.
Any other comments on this? All right, 30 days unless I hear different. So the second meeting of June.
Thank you, Ray.
Okay, the next is discussion of popular landowners board seats. I guess this is me. I brought it up a couple of months ago. And my feeling is, based on the last landowners election that we had, that we're just kidding ourselves by continuing to have landowners seats. There's no participation, there's no interest. We do pay money to have an election, which I think we're throwing out the window and to a certain, and not now, we're not throwing it out the window. We have to pay the money to do the election, so that's proper. But we could save the money that we spend on elections, which is not a great deal of money, I admit. But I just don't see the benefit any longer of having a landowner seat. My feeling would be to go to all popular seats. I know we would have to go to the county to ask their permission and blessings on this,
Correct. Yeah, it'll require an ordinance change.
but I just don't see why we would not do that. That's my opinion. You guys have any opinion?
Yeah. Well, for one thing, as far as the number of people that voted, I shut off my campaign right after Sherry got hurt. So I know I could have gotten at least, excuse me, had I gone and done what I had planned on doing, I would have got at least another 100 votes easily. All right, so that's 300. My guess is that the general election that's coming up in November, because it's not a presidential election, is probably going to have about the same interest in the supervisors here in Sun and Lake. Unless there's something dramatic that they want to vote on, they're not going to be going to the general election. And while you did have a big turnout for the general election that occurred when you guys ran, right, it's because it was a presidential election also. And that's why the turnout was significant as it was. I still believe that the
It wasn't
people.
significant. It was only 500 votes, or I think they both won with
I thought
500.
it was 900.
You know,
But anyway, all right. But I still, my biggest thing is I believe that these people that are covered under it, landowners, should have some say in how the assessments are used through the supervisors that they elect. To do away with the Canadians and/or anyone else out of country, plus snowbirds that aren't Florida residents, I don't believe is proper. They're paying assessments, they at least have a voice. That's my opinion. Anybody else?
I don't care either way, but if we do away with the landowner issue, we're going to have to do something about my election is between the two. And I know if we switch, it's going to have to go to, have to be added a year to the thing. So that's just something, if we decide to do that, we got to address that. And so, it's,
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that I would really have to say is if you decide to go to all five, we'd have to figure out how you want to do, it would have to be a 3-2 split. On even years not divisible by 4 would be 2 people, and presidential election years, it would be 3 people.
Right.
And the way the rules work is if there's 3 seats open, and there's only 3 candidates, then that's it. You don't have to have an election. And if there's 4 candidates, then the people with the 3 highest votes would become supervisors. So we wouldn't be voting for individual seats. It would be these 3 seats are open. We've got 4 people running. And so people would get to pick 3 of the 4, and whatever 3 people had the highest number of votes, those would be the 3 people seated. The other potential alternative is if we could do a 2-2, 4-1, have 1 remaining landowner seat, and then we would have. But like I say, it's up to you guys how you want to do it. But I agree that voter turnout has not been fantastic for if we're trying to give Canadians the part-time Canadians a chance to vote, they're not really taking advantage of it.
They did. They're the ones that voted.
Everybody who's a resident has the ability to voice their opinion on anything that we do.
Correct.
Whether I'm elected one way and Michael's elected another way, it doesn't really matter. They can come and say, I think this budget is wrong. I think you shouldn't be raising the golf assessments, or I think you're screwing us as non-golfers, or whatever they may say. It doesn't really matter if they support you for an election. They can say anything they want at any given time. So to say that we have to give them the opportunity to support individual candidates, I don't know what that gets us. They can support or voice their opinions on the board, against the board, anytime they want, whether they nominate the person or not.
They don't have a vote.
They have a vote. We have the votes. They don't have a vote either way.
No, but they have a vote on who represents them.
But no, I'm just saying, that's my opinion. And my opinion is that, quite frankly, I don't think they care. No, and that's no offense to them. if I was in their situation and I had 5 people on the board running it, unless I knew I had an individual problem that they're causing me, I'd say they're doing a good job.
And the only time that they show up is when it's for golf.
Yeah, and like I said, one of the big things I would say is that, if you make it 5 popular seats, at least people, the people are, they know when the normal voting day is. Our landowner vote, I mean, unless people are really invested in the system, they're not coming to it. We've seen I mean, I'm not saying we've had a bad turnout, but we've by no means had a turnout like we do on regular election days for our landowner elections.
But I will say that probably the largest group we ever had was the one that when they said they were going to take it away, they're the ones that showed up.
That, I have to agree with that. When they know that they may be losing something, they do get very vocal, as any group would. I mean, that's just normal. Does it justify having landowner seats versus all popular seats? That's something I guess we got to decide. I don't know how we proceed. Beverly, do you want to jump in here?
It doesn't matter to me one way or the other. How much is the cost involved and what is the time frame to get it changed to all one way?
Well, it's not going to happen before this year's election, obviously.
Yeah.
So I think that we could, if the board decides that that's what they want us to do, revising or coming up with a new proposed ordinance would not be difficult. I'm sure that I could take care of that in a couple of months, at most. We'd have a couple board meetings, make sure you guys are happy with the wording, and then we take it to the county to get implemented. That'll probably take more time than what it would take to actually draft up the proposed ordinance. So, but I can't imagine it would take more than 2 or 3 meetings for you guys to, accept or come to a decision about the language that we're going to use.
I mean,
I agree.
we don't have to
I agree with
decide
Governor.
today. We can say, you want to give it 2 weeks and then we'll vote on it? I mean,
Well, if you think you're going to have a big turnout for this general election, I'd
No.
submit to you that
I don't think we're going to have a big
I don't
turnout
either.
for anything.
Well, I think that would be my recommendation is to, talk to talk to the people that are going to be affected, and then we need to pick a date and have a public hearing about what the plan is. And they can come out and voice their opinion, and you guys we'll take a vote and we'll do whatever the decision is.
Well, if we were to do that, and that's not a bad idea, but I would probably then say we can't do it until the people from up north come down.
I would agree with
In
that.
all fairness to them.
Mhm.
Right.
So that would mean we probably would have to postpone this until October.
well, if you could, might as well, I suggest that you postpone it until November and see how many people turn out for the general election. And
I can tell you
It
how many
really doesn't
returned,
make any-
based,
to me
I got to
personally,
tell you,
it
based on the last general election that we had, there was 3 candidates. There was a total of 2,300 votes cast for all 3.
because it was a presidential election,
Right. So this one would be less.
significantly.
Right. But we had 200 votes for the landowner seat, of which, I can't say, of which a lot of them were gotten by going into the clubhouse and,
So you think.
I mean, let's face it, there is not a lot of support for the board. There isn't from the community. I mean, that's just a fact. You guys want it, you can either accept that or not accept it. That is a fact. So what is right for the board to do?
So you're saying you want everybody on a level playing field? So the landowners can't go in and have cocktail parties and solicit votes?
Right.
That's what I'm throwing
And
out.
removing landowner seats would remove removing landowner seats would remove the
Exactly.
corporate influence.
I like that too.
Now, again, to David's point before, if we want to have an open meeting when the Northerners are back, the Canadians are back, and see what the reaction is from them, I can wait till then. I'm just trying to get it right. I have no problems with waiting until they come back and having an open meeting.
Okay.
And if they come like they did the last time, what's going to change? I mean,
Nothing.
We
really,
can
to me,
take.
it doesn't. I don't intend to run again anyway. So as far as my personal feeling about it,
You know, we've been dragging this for years. For years and years, this has been going on. Nobody wants to make a decision. Are we gonna make a decision, or are we gonna just go back to what we used to do? But we keep dragging it down the road. Well, why don't we make a decision what we want to do for a change right now? You know, let David take it, you know, draw everything up, and then bring it back to us and decide what to do. I mean, we keep dragging everything. Everything's wait.
All right, what's the consensus on taking a vote today?
It's on the action agenda. You guys can,
Anybody
if you guys,
interested?
if you want to take a vote to give us direction, even if it's as simple as, you know, draft up some proposed language so that we can,
Anybody interested in voting today to finalize this?
Yes, I vote that we make a draft, bring back to us. Yeah, I have to make a motion.
yeah, make a motion.
I'm going to make a motion that you make a draft so we can have everybody on the same, do away with the landowner seats and have everybody just popular votes.
I'll second it.
All right, we got a motion and a second. If there's any public.
Any public comments?
Where's Norcross?
I guess we vote.
Okay. Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes,
Supervisor Herrick,
No,
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes.
President Brooks.
Yes. So.
All right, so just to make sure I understand, I'll start drafting something and we'll bring something, whenever you guys want it. You know, if you want to give me a time frame now or say at some time, but we can bring it before the board in October do you want to give me a time frame or you just want me to get started?
I personally think if we're going to hear from the people that we're taking the vote away from, we would wait till October.
but you need to bring us something like in September for us to look at. I mean,
Okay,
so we
yeah.
can do the work.
So we can bring something and then when we have a
So we'll be
finalized
ready for
version,
October.
we'll have a public hearing in October or, you know,
Okay,
when the
perfect.
Okay. So you're going to bring us something in writing in 30 days? How's that?
I can do something in 30 days.
Yeah, 30 days. Second meeting in June. And then we'll go from there. Add-on items, petitions and communications, staff reports, golf.
Good morning, Supervisors. Jimmy Murphy, Golf Course Superintendent. Gave you guys the written report. We're going to go over our closure, I think, later on in this. Next week, we're going to be airifying Turtle. So be closed till the 4th. Saturday, the 4th, we'll reopen Turtle. But we're going to airify fairways. We're going to verticut fairways and then try to get the bulk gap of the pre-emergent out on there before we actually move over to Deer. Right now, we pretty much got everything in for the irrigation. So we're ready to go. I've talked with Carl a couple of times. He's going to try to get down a couple of days ahead of time and do an assessment on all the parts. The pipe was being extruded this week. So hopefully we'll start seeing that here shortly as well. Other than that, like I said, everything else that we're doing is inside the report. And Mike and I have met this week a couple of times, Hurley, and we've reviewed all the equipment and we're still waiting. A couple of options we're looking at is possibly, I'm going to get a purchase price on the current lease that we have just to see what it is in comparison and then give you guys a couple of options and possibly see what we can do with the equipment package.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Any,
Yes.
any questions? Do you guys want to go over the Sun and Lake, his plan of closings and
The closures.
that he sent us? Do that now.
Right, can't hear you.
Yeah.
Right. What did you say? We didn't hear you.
Oh,
You're not.
let's go over the Sun and Lake Golf Club plan of attack for closings and openings and course management will cost maintenance starting in May. You want to tell us what you gave us here?
Yeah, good morning Supervisors. Mike Lemire, General Manager, the Golf Club. So basically this here is more of as a summary page of the same thing as the calendar that we gave you before. Hopefully this kind of lays it out a little bit more. So we gave you kind of a month by month of what will be going on the golf courses. And then on the final page, we gave you an actual closure summary so you can see what courses are closed when. So as you see, as Jimmy just stated, that May 23rd, which is Monday, we are closing Turtle Run for aerification, and it's going to be 4th, which is a Saturday. And we've laid that out through this summer. The only thing that I will, just say is we don't plan on any changes on this, but it is always possible. Weather's always a factor. This is kind of a living, breathing document. But this is the game plan as we stand today.
Any questions?
Is it, the 4 aerations that you plan on doing, is that, seemed to me like it's an overkill. I mean, I know most courses do it spring and fall, but you're talking doing 4 times. And I gotta ask, you found out that you only had a ½ inch last year of root, but yet we didn't do any well, if you did any aeration, I don't recall it being done.
I did it in June last year,
Okay,
Mr. Herrick.
up north. Why, and this is water over the dam, I understand it, but why did you not aerate more last year?
I got here in June and,
Well, you're talking about June, July, August, and September. I don't understand, Jimmy, if it was that significant of a problem of only having a ½ inch root, why did we wait until all of this happened, and now we gotta do 4 of them? And maybe 4 is right, but it seems like it's an overkill to me, especially when we didn't do it.
well, I think the biggest thing, Craig, right now is looking at your estric test and looking at how much organic matter's in the greens. I just think that, and if you'd like to ride, I'll show you how much root you have on them now. So I can't say that we had as much organic, but until you do the estric test, we wouldn't have known how much. Should I have probably done an estric test when I got here? Most likely. I mean, I'm going to do.
You tested the greens right after you got here.
That was a soil sample. That wasn't the estric test like what we just got. So the estric test we just had done was basically showing you all the organic and the thatch and the percolations and the fines and everything in the soils.
Wouldn't that have showed you the root issue at the time?
Well, I mean, we kept taking the roots. We look at them all the time and make sure we have roots. And in the wintertime, they get shallower. And it just, I mean, if you look at them right now, they're almost 3 inches, 4 inches. And I don't know how long it's been since we've had a 3 or 4 inch root on these greens. I just think that the more organic we can get out of them and the better that they drain, the healthier that they'll be. I mean, and normally.
Does it take 4?
I did 3. I mean, when I was running 35 golf courses last year, we try to get, I mean, in the South, we try to get 3 aerifications.
A minimum of 3.
Right.
Depending on the outside forces, you have to aerate 3 times. And if you want to do a lighter one, the 4th time you can, but you need to do 3 aerifications.
Well,
in South Florida.
Mics, please.
And they all.
I guess maybe this wasn't what we were supposed to be talking about.
Craig,
What?
can you talk into your mic? I can't hear what you're saying.
I didn't say anything.
It's not recording. We can hear them. We can hear them. It's just if it's not going through the mic and it's not going through the speakers, they can't pick it up for the meeting minutes.
I'd like to hear what you say.
Sure.
He's not happy.
and really.
If we need 4, we need 4. That's all. It just seems to me like it's an overkill from where we've been. That's all.
Yeah, I mean.
But
go ahead.
you're the ones that you're responsible for the course. You do what you think you got to do.
Yes, sir.
That's all I got.
Any other questions besides mine? I have questions. I assume now this plan of attack through next May replaces that other stuff that you gave us, correct?
The 12-month calendar?
Yeah, that's gone and this is in, right? Which is fine. I'm just asking.
To be honest with you, if it's all right with you all, I'd like to give it to the golf committee. And we use it for
You're gonna give it,
ourselves.
what, the 12-year calendar or this?
The 12-month calendar, yes, sir.
I don't care.
The only reason why is because it helps us. It's just like, we went through it, marked up a couple of tournaments that we had for the fall for members again yesterday. It's a revolving thing that I can give the super.
You can give it to them, that's fine.
Right.
What I'm asking is the cost maintenance that you've listed here, that's it to the best of your knowledge?
Yes,
at
sir.
this point
Yes,
in
sir.
time?
Yes, sir.
And all of those additional maintenance to be done after September the 2nd, there are no course closings. Is that
Correct. Just for that 9 o'clock on Monday
For the 9
mornings.
o'clock.
Yes,
That's
sir. And that's so we can keep ninja tining through the winter and doing the light top dressings.
That's fine. The other question I had is this comment on July 15th, the air run closes through August 28th. Both courses will be utilized on the weekends for major tournaments in August. What major tournaments do we have in August?
So we have,
Because we don't know anything about it yet.
yeah, you know about them. We have them, they're yearly tournaments. It's the Sertoma two-man and the Firemen's.
And let me ask you this. Is there not going to be equipment or anything on Deer Run at this time that we have this tournament?
Well,
Or are
we'll
these
be,
guys just going to pull out? I'm serious.
The big stuff is just going to be a track hole pulling in the big main line. So that's going to basically stay on the outsides of the golf course. And then when they go to pull in the laterals for the heads and the fairways, it's literally going to be pulled in and it's going to disturb about 6 to 8 inches.
If any damage comes to the course because you guys have tournaments, you're paying for it. I'm just.
Fine. Yeah, there
You're
won't
gonna
be
pay
any
for it.
damage.
I mean, if you guys feel comfortable in doing this, that's fine, but if anything comes of it, we're not paying for it.
As far, you're talking about what, to the equipment?
To the course,
To the course.
anything. I mean, you're gonna stop an irrigation program, move stuff around to allow a tournament to take place. I'm just telling you, I don't think that's a good idea, but if you want to do it, you're doing it at your own expense,
Fair enough.
okay?
Yes, sir.
Maybe.
No maybe.
Well, you got one vote here that's gonna make you pay for it.
Oh, you would rather we pay for it?
Well, I don't know. I have to. that comes-
Certainly hope not.
We had damage before and we had somebody not make them pay nothing, so
I will certainly bring it to a vote.
unless you want to talk about that
Make sure
one.
that Mr. Gilpin is happy to vote on it,
So
so.
Michael, you feel confident what you guys are doing? That's all I want.
absolutely.
Okay, if you feel confident, I'm okay with it.
Let me ask you another question. You're going to have various nines open on both courses at the same time. How are you planning on directing traffic?
It will be it can definitely be a slight juggle to do this, but 90% of our play is going to be member play. They know where they're going. It's just going to be communication. And more than that, most of the golfers we have in the summertime, they know what they're doing. If we have a hotel group that doesn't know where to go, then obviously we're going to have to help them out. But it will be a little bit of a challenge, but it's not going to be significant.
You have no outside play for the most part? I got
We
to tell
do.
you, going from
We
Deer
do.
Run 9
Mhm.
to Turtle
One.
1,
Yeah.
that'll be fun.
We used to do it all
I
the
just
time.
don't know.
It's not, I mean, it's a slight challenge,
We
but
used to
it's
do it all
not,
the time. We did it all the time. when we
Right,
won
it's
it
been
3
done
times.
before.
yeah.
I'm talking about outside play. How do they know where to go?
They've been, like I said, most of them have been here before. They know where they're going. We do a really good job. I mean, we communicate to get them down to Turtle Run number 1 on a daily basis. It's not going to be that much different to say, okay, when you're done 9, now you're going here. I mean, we send them from the pro shop there every day. So it's, like I said, it'll be a small challenge, but it's not going to be a big deal.
So Michael, you're gonna have staff on to direct
It'll
them
be,
if needed.
if need be. I mean,
Okay.
like I said, we know the tee sheet. We know who's been here before. It's not going to be significant.
Okay. We'll wait and see how that works out, Michael. Do you want to talk?
Should we not share maybe this with the
I'm sorry?
golf membership so that they know when the courses are closed and what's being sold?
Yes, we do plan on that.
We just wanted.
We wanted you to see it first. So it'll probably go out next week.
Well, I think it should be in your newsletter.
Correct.
It should be
Right.
posted in the board on the members' room,
Right.
Absolutely.
at the very least.
Yeah, we just wanted to get your all's blessings on it, and then we'll make it public.
Okay, while you're up here, let's finish you off and just briefly discuss about this,
Get us out of here.
I got a mental block on this,
Org chart, hierarchy.
yeah, organizational chart.
Tab 10 or 11,
Thank you.
11.
This is much better, but I look at this and I still don't see manager coverage during the hours of the restaurant. So tell me how you're going to do that. You keep telling me you're going to do it, but I don't see it.
I'm not 100% following you from an org chart to manager coverage. If we're looking at the restaurant, you can see that we have our new F&B manager, Sandra, and down under her hierarchy, there's a service manager that both of which are in controlling the service staff. So in the absence of, an F&B manager, you have the service manager. You can call her service manager, call him assistant manager, irrelevant, but they all are in charge of the service staff. So I don't know how you're going to pull that much information out of an org chart.
So the service manager and the F&B manager can cover the restaurant all 80 hours or so that it's open.
Yes, there will always be a manager on duty. Yes.
It's a designated manager who has no
I-
other responsibility but to take care of the people working there
Right.
and the customers.
I will not go on record saying that there will always be a manager during the full operation. I don't think it's most efficient. If it's 7:30
You don't
at
get it.
night, I don't think we need to pay a manager to watch the bartender serve two people. That does not make sense. So in that sense, no. But when we are operating on a normal basis where we have the need for a manager, which will be every day, yes.
Who is the service?
Michael,
Go ahead. Who?
I have notes. I have not met nor seen either one of these people. I have seen them sitting behind a desk. Tuesday before last, I sat down at 11:59. I did not get recognized until 12:20. I did not get my food ordered and did not get served until after 1 o'clock. This past Tuesday, 3 tables sat down at 12 o'clock, and we did not get our food until 1 o'clock. I was there 3 hours on Tuesday and 2.5 hours yesterday. I never saw one of your people come out and ask or even walk through to see if anything was going on. Mike, this is unacceptable. I'm just telling you, fix the problem.
Yes, I agree. We definitely will.
But Sandra doesn't work Tuesdays, right?
Sandra has not been here the last 2 Tuesdays. Yeah.
Well,
My
then,
understanding, she works six days and has Tuesdays off.
That is not correct. She's not here 6 days. That's not the plan, but
Who is service manager?
the service manager can change from time to time. We haven't necessarily hired a full-time person. We've had a couple in the past. We've used Kaylee to do it. She's kind of stepping in that role right now. Cheyenne has done it in the past, but Cheyenne has since moved away. So we are using basically Kaylee, if you will, at this time to fill in that role until we find a permanent solution. But yes, I will ask that, we got to give Sandra just a little bit of time. She is definitely spending a little bit more time in the office than she probably will be in the future. She has a lot of systems she has to go through to learn of all the processes and inventory control and a few things. So although I 100% want to address your issues, absolutely. I really think you guys are really going to like her, and I'm going to start pushing her to, as she gets kind of settled in, that you're going to see her a lot more. I definitely will say that.
It's obvious you got a problem on Tuesday.
Right, so
Tuesdays is a busy day.
Tuesday at lunch it has been busy, yes, yes it has.
That's the day we're closed too, right?
Don't
Michael.
go there with me.
Michael, what I like to
Don't go
see,
there with me.
okay?
Do you
Sorry.
have a lead
Hello?
bartender?
Not me just doing it.
Is
Yeah,
there a
you're
lead
on.
bar?
You're
You
on.
hear me? Michael, what I like to see is your manager from go to table and table and
Yes.
introduce herself
She,
and let people know who she is,
right,
right? Because I think that's going to help you. It's going to help us, right?
absolutely.
I mean, where I came from, we had the same
Mhm.
problem. And I think if they go from table to table and then introduce herself, start a relationship. And that's what you got to train, Michael. That's all on you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the best part, I 100% agree with you. And that's the best part about Sandra is I don't have to train her to do that.
Yeah.
She understands that's her role. We've had that conversation and I promise you, you will definitely be seeing her 100%.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I would like to thank you for hiring Frankie back.
You're welcome.
Oh, Frankie's back?
You don't have to thank me for that. I'm happy that he wanted. It was a pleasure to have him back.
Sandra
don't-
should
you
come
just
out
don't-
and
you
watch
just don't
Frankie
get it,
work.
Michael.
Sandra should come out and watch Frankie work on Tuesday and Wednesday and see that would be a good example because he doesn't stay behind the bar.
No, I know.
He's
That's
all over the floor.
right. And that's the example that
Tell you
we all
what,
need to live by. Yes.
I'd like to propose, am I allowed to do this?
We'll do it and then we'll tell
I would
you.
like to propose that we have a manager on duty at the restaurant every hour that it's open. Can I do that? Obviously, he
Yeah, you can
doesn't.
make a,
Well-
you can make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we have a manager on duty when we're open.
Could we make it while serving food? Because there's no sense to have a manager on a Sunday afternoon when they're only,
To watch the bartender
to watch the bartender.
serve two people.
I mean, I
There
agree
are
with you,
people-
Ray. Ray, I agree with you as long as they're serving food. I mean, I worked this business a lot of years, right? And if you have the right bartender, okay, you're good, okay? When they're serving food, absolutely, we need somebody there with them. I mean,
We
it costs a
need-
lot of money to keep someone there.
But not sitting behind a desk. If you want her there, let her come in and do her work from 9 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock. And when they start serving food, then have her out on the floor.
Absolutely.
Right.
Right.
But this, waitresses ought to understand when somebody sits down at the table, there ought to be somebody going there and asking them if they want something. I mean, that's pretty dang easy, ain't it? Then why doesn't it happen? We have to wait for people to come over. It doesn't make any sense.
I understand. And
No,
that's
you don't. That's the problem.
that's what I hired the new person for. She's
My-
100% on board with that.
My point to you is, as good as your waitress staff or waiter staff may be, if there is nobody there to give them direction, they probably won't do the job that's necessary to be done. You need a manager to say, Mr. Herrick, go over to that Mr. Schumacher's table and see if everything's okay. You should be going around to every table and saying, well, thank you for coming. Is your meal good? Can we get you some water?
Absolutely.
Whatever, like all the other restaurants in town do.
I 100% agree.
But we
and that
can't
is
seem to get it to happen.
No, like I said, she's been here
She's
like a
got
week and a half.
nothing to do with it.
She's
She's
the-
one person.
I
She
understand.
can't do it by herself.
And in the reference that we're talking to of time when the service is needed, we 100% are going to have a manager on duty. But I'm not going to say 100% of the time there's always going to be a manager there because it's not ideal. If it's 7:30 at night and there's two people standing
Fine.
at the bar, we don't need to pay a $15
being
employee.
served.
Right. As long as there's food being
And
served.
an hour after food service stops, because there's still people at the tables, right?
Right, and that's
So
going to be the
an hour
majority
after
of the time.
food service stops, you don't need a manager.
And that's
But the manager
that's
is
where I
not
agree
to
with you.
be a
Yes.
bartender who you say, okay, you're the manager.
I understand, and and you got to understand, it's not that we're not going through the same labor shortage that the district's going through. Obviously, they're having issues as well, and we have not been outside of that lines. It took us a while to find some right people. We're getting there. I understand we have issues. I really feel confident that we have the right person in line to make these things happen. She's been here 2 weeks. She's had a lot to learn on the back of the house, and I promise you're going to see her a lot more, and you're going to see progress being made. That I do promise you.
Michael, you're going to present your budget in 2 weeks. You make sure you can cover what we're asking you to do,
Fair enough.
or don't present the budget.
I understand you 100%.
And I think we should know, you said lead bartender here, or banquet captain. Who are those people, or do we not know yet?
Yes, so.
Well, put their names down.
So, correct.
What?
So, they're correct.
Do we have a lead bartender?
Yes.
His name's Frankie?
Frankie was the lead bartender prior to his departure. Michaela became the lead bartender. And right now, as Frankie comes back, we're going to see how that's going to work out. And it may become Frankie again. Yes.
One of the best people you got.
I mean, just
I totally agree.
Just,
I totally agree.
all we're trying to do is to help the restaurant's business. That's all we're trying to do. And you would think that we're trying to rob you blind.
No, it's fine. And if we want to do that, I can adjust the labor side of things, but we also sit in these meetings and you asked me about labor today. If you want me to manage the labor properly, you need to let me do it.
If you give good service, you're going to do more volume.
I understand.
That's going to happen.
I understand.
If people like coming to our restaurant, they'll come back.
I understand.
Michael, do they have name tags over there?
Our employees?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, couldn't we put on their name tag, like if there's, who's ever in charge? Oh, wait, so you have 5 people. Okay, you have 5 people on your staff, okay? Why can't you put
I totally can.
what they are, so then the residents know who to go to if there's a problem? I mean, what Beverly just said is absolutely ridiculous, that she sat there that long.
No,
I would have never sat
understand.
that long, but I don't have a lot of patience, but I would never, but she's right. So, we got to start somewhere. We all want to work together and let's get this better. But what Ray's telling you, he's right.
No, I totally understand. I totally understand. And I'm not arguing with anybody. I'm just saying it's 100% of the time is not going to be the number. It's going to be
right
when it's going to be the majority. It's going to be the majority of the time. It's going to be exactly what you want, but I'm just not going to say 100%. It's going to be what you want.
Why don't you
it's
get
not
to
going to be
50%? Hell, we'd take that right now. You can't even get up. You're at bat and you just like have the bat over your shoulder. You're not doing anything. Take a swing and see what happens.
You got it.
But Michael, I like you to go to name tags and you know what? If you give somebody a name tag and tell them they're in charge, they're going to feel better.
I mean,
because they're not going to be afraid
keep
to
having
stand up
this
and tell somebody
argument
to move.
to get you more people. It's ridiculous.
As long as you're good with the labor number, we'll have as many people
I don't know
as
what
you
the
want.
labor number is. Why don't you present it like we asked and see what happens?
I will do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any public comments on this? Thank you. Community service report.
Good morning, supervisors. You've all been provided with a written staff update, but just a couple of things that I would like to add to that since this was distributed. I have a meeting set with a graphic design or marketing firm that's here local, if you will, with regards to a template for the newsletter. That's going to be on Monday. We're going to start kind of putting together some ideas of what that would look like because it's scheduled for you guys to see the first draft of that, the second meeting in June. So just an update that we'll be working on getting that together and getting a good idea of what that'll look like so that we can meet that deadline for you. Also, insurance claim update with regards to the hailstorm damages. Because of the scope of the damages, this particular project, if you will, was assigned to, we'll say, an additional adjuster, so like a loss coordinator. They were on site yesterday with a consultant, if you will, that went around to take a look at all the damages. I believe that they only made it through district damages at this point, meaning district office, recreation, the maintenance building, things of that nature. And then they're scheduled, I don't know if they already have it on the books, but I know that they will be coming around to take a look at the golf course damages as well. So they compile that information, give us an estimate of what the damages are, and we go from there. But just so you know that that is still a work in progress. Unfortunately, these kinds of things just kind of move a little slow, but they were on site yesterday. I met with that team yesterday. So we are still working on that. Also, update with regards to the dog park benches. The dog park benches are in. We're going to be, or there has been concrete ordered so that we can do the slabs for the concrete for the benches. We ordered 2 per park. And so as soon as that concrete is in, I've been working with Bob and they've been wonderful to help us and keep us updated. And we will get those installed in both the small dog park and the large dog park. And those are my 3 updates since the last update. So if you have any questions.
Yeah, I have, on the benches, I asked Chris, because when I read your stuff, it looks like you're going to put them in. Where are you going to put them? I mean, is there a plan? Can we see something where they're going? Because we want to, maybe if we get a consensus to enlarge the dog park, change the stuff. I don't want to see benches just put in by Joe Blow without a plan. So that's my only question. I don't want to be critical, but I don't want any benches put in until the majority of us see where you're going to put them.
Do you have recommendations of where you would like them?
Well, I wanted to meet you and talk to you, but I guess I was giving you direction, and I think you should meet with anybody of the supervisors who care about that dog park and get some ideas. But that, again, that's just me. I don't care, but I think if a plan, it's not going to work because we might have to rip them up.
I think that's a good point.
I'll
And
volunteer.
since you brought it up, we'll have Supervisor Gilpin work with you in placement of the dog benches.
Well, there's 4
that's okay.
benches out there
There's 4
right
benches
now.
there now. I'll
Yeah.
volunteer to go over there with Ariel. I know where all the irrigation is and stuff like that.
I asked
and I'll
Supervisor
work with her.
Gilpin to do that, please. Thank you.
Yep, and I'll do it, but I recommend, Mike, that you meet with Ariel too, because I'd like ideas. I mean, I don't want you to tell her, I don't want me to tell her.
Right.
I want us to tell her.
We'll get it done. We'll figure out. It's not, brain surgery. So.
I mean, it's not that big a deal,
Yeah.
but I don't want to give,
But you're right, Mike.
I don't want to give direction, but I certainly don't want stuff put in that we might have to move.
Right. And we are planning enlarging it, so that's a very good point.
If possible, then, if I can recommend that maybe we do that next week, I don't want to necessarily hold up the project either. So if you guys are available next week, we can coordinate that so that we can get some ideas of where you would like the benches placed.
Ariel, you call me when you're available and I'll meet you, okay?
Yep.
And call Mike too, because
got
or Craig, and if Beverly has an idea, that's fine too.
Got it.
I trust their judgment.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Anything else anything else that you have?
I might have been sleeping when you started.
That's okay.
Pickleball, resurfacing.
Okay, pickleball resurfacing. So this particular project being under 50,000 requires that the board obviously approve the project, which we did a while ago, and then it requires the 3 estimates. Sunday has worked very hard to try and get that 3rd estimate. As I noted in the staff update, the issue we have is because it's kind of a niche type product. We were able to secure 2, but we're having a hard time getting that 3rd, which, to be honest with you, isn't super uncommon for our area. So we do have the 2 estimates. The one, I believe, Chris, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but staff recommendation at this point would be to go with 90 construction. We do have the 2 estimates. So for 90, the pickleball resurfacing for 4 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts is coming in just shy of 40,000. That is also the lesser of the 2 estimates. And that also does include the dual painting that we had talked about. they've been wonderful coming out and taking a look, and they're very familiar, very established business and very respected in the industry. They came very highly recommended. So that would be the staff's recommendation. My understanding is they would be able to get to the project early August. We let them know that we have a deadline that A, we want it done before the end of the fiscal year, and B, we had discussed and the board's direction was to move forward with the South Florida State College, the Heartland Senior Games, that pickleball tournament that we had discussed. So that's the beginning of November. So we would be well established and finished with the project before that happens. So we're confident that they would be able to meet that timeline. I think that the project itself, they expected to take 2 to 3 weeks once they got started.
All right,
Can we make a motion to move ahead with
Well, I have a
them, or
question.
do we have to have this other thing?
No. That's just the purchasing policy, and the board can suspend policy. So if the board wants to make a motion and vote on, go ahead and directing that we negotiate a contract and bring that contract back, you can do that.
Well, I have a question before we do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Ariel, did Drew look at the specs? Did you give it the specs? I mean, what's the thickness of everything? And did Drew actually look at anything? Did you guys work together? I mean, on the
contracts that we did when we first resurfaced them back in, was it 11 or 12?
Yeah, okay.
That's the only thing we would have to go by is what we originally did.
Right.
I think it was a different company, wasn't it?
It was a different company. So this is a different company. And once we give them the go ahead, obviously some of those are going to be, we'll get some of those specific details once we get into a contract. This is kind of just their estimate project based on the scope that we gave them. I'm happy to share that with Drew, but again, these folks are notorious. They do this for universities, very large universities. They're very well versed in what kind of the specs would be for resurfacing these courts.
The only thing I would like to see is make sure Drew looks at them.
Sure.
And you guys work together on it, and it's done right.
Okay.
That's all I care.
Yeah.
We can review specs. That's
Yeah,
not a,
review it.
it shouldn't take long to do
You
that.
know, the thickness of everything and what they're gonna do, what they put down for sealer and everything, okay?
Yeah, and we
Thank you.
need,
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good job.
we'll do that and review warranty stuff. That's,
Yeah.
I know that was big the last time.
The last time.
'cause
Yeah.
I
We'll take
had-
a look at that. We'll make sure that Drew's involved.
How long's the project gonna take? Did they tell you?
Roughly 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, okay, so
Ru-
it'll be closed down.
Yeah, we should be done with this well before the end of the fiscal year. So that was beautiful news for us.
Okay, thank you.
And you said they were 40,000 or under?
They were, yes, they were. I believe the budget was, it was either 40 or 45. I can't remember which, but their estimate that they came back to us was 39,968.
Okay, with the lines that they're putting in for pickleball on the tennis courts, do we have to do anything as far as nets or buying any nets to make those pickleball court or to make those converted courts
My understanding.
converted?
Yeah, sure, convertible, right? So my understanding is that there will be like another set of holes that are there. So kind of like where you would see like the net holes now that are flush, where you would put the net if you ever had to take it down. They put a separate, what's the word I'm looking for? Yes, thank you, where you can anchor those and move so that you move the net. So if you're playing tennis, the net goes this way in these holes. If you're playing pickleball, the net goes this way in these holes.
So that we use the same existing net?
No.
We would need a new net because for pickleball, because these are additional, if you will, pickleball courts. So we currently have 8, but this is adding some. So we would need nets for that.
So how much is that going to cost us?
They're not much. They would be something that would fall into our typical regular budget item, facilities repair and maintenance type thing. That's not a major expense at all. Off the top of my head, I have no idea how much they cost.
The only concern I have is make sure that, well, it must be in the specs, that the poles are put in the right spots, okay? Because that's.
It's your business.
I've seen it happen.
Yeah, 90 was actually the company who told us that this was even a possibility. Like I said, this is something they do all the time. This is not new business for them.
I would like to second, Craig, that we go ahead and move forward with this. Can we go ahead and, how do I do it?
No, you second the motion. The motion, someone made a motion
Correct.
that we're suspending the policy that requires 3 bids, and we're going to just, with 3 proposals, we're going to go forward with the 2 for time purposes.
And I second.
Okay, there we go. Any more
I just-
discussion?
Yeah, I just have one question. Would we be better off, you're gonna hate this, just spending 100,000 and going for that other money that we got last time and building a new set of pickleball courts if we really need them that badly?
If I were confident that it would only be 100,000,
I have the estimate, it was 86,000 when we did it 3-4 years ago. So I'm sure it's about, so I'm sure it's
wait,
about
was that
100,
that was for shuffleboard though, correct?
No, that was for pickleball.
I don't remember ever.
Would you like to see it? have it with
I
me.
would love to see it.
I just happen to have it.
Yeah, great. I mean, that's obviously way more complex. You're
just
talking
saying-
about the land, you're talking about,
We
so,
have the land. It was in the original plan was to expand pickleball.
okay. Well, my recommendation for whatever it's worth would be we go forward with the resurfacing. That has to happen anyways. That's well past due. The courts need to be resurfacing. I think having the convertible courts between tennis and pickleball gives us the opportunity to see if those additional courts are even used or utilized. If the answer is no, and we don't find that we're using those additional pickleball courts, then I probably wouldn't recommend expanding the facility. If we have those 4 filled and we see that there's this great demand and now we've got all of our 8 pickleball courts filled and these additional 3 or 4, then maybe that would be something that I would suggest we consider.
And Ray, Ariel's absolutely right. You know, we got to get that done for $40,000 to, to upgrade everything. That's pretty cheap. Now, if you want to go with more pickleballs next year.
I'm just throwing it out. I mean,
Well,
actually, I was
think we
wrong,
should
but this
continue.
included
Oh.
clearing of the land, which you've already done, includes it was $104,000 pickleball.
I thought it was 80.
I said I was wrong.
Oh, what? You said what?
But my question is, if pickleball is that much in demand and we're only going to get bigger, is that something we want to entertain? In addition to, we have to redo the.
Sure,
estimate.
that's what I was going to say. I mean, I don't know that stops us from continuing what we're doing right now. However,
Well, I don't know about converting the tennis courts. That's what I'm concerned.
it's just a paint. So if in 5 or 7 years or however long it is, if we said, you know what, we want to make sure that we want to take these back to just strictly tennis, then you do. It's just the paint over the resurfacing that lets you delegate which court is which. There's no structural changes to what's happening. So we're not.
2 holes.
Yes.
Okay. So I think at this point, what is the motion on the table? I'm sorry.
Motion is to suspend the purchasing policy that requires 3 proposals, except, and say make a decision based on the 2 proposals that are already in our possession for time purposes in order to expedite the process.
Okay, that's the motion. Do I have a second?
Yes,
Beverly second.
Beverly seconded.
Okay, voted. Oh, public comments? Voted.
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes,
Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
President Brooks.
Yes.
Ariel, I have a question. I didn't want to say it while we were just before the vote, but I read in the paper 2-3 weeks ago that the same people that were here went to the county, and the county's working on maybe doing a big pickleball project for them. I mean, is this just more
We have a meeting.
BS, or is this?
We have a meeting scheduled with them on the 30th.
We have a meeting scheduled with some of the pickleball representatives for Sun and Lake. I don't know. I didn't see the article, so I don't know what group specifically you're speaking about. I have been made aware, it's been an ongoing thing, that there have been groups of pickleball players looking to construct courts in different locations. It's honestly kind of hopped all over Highlands County.
But it was the same people that were here, because I recognized the names. And they had quite a lengthy meeting with the county, and
And the county told them no.
no, they didn't. They told them they were going to look into it.
Yeah,
So-
it's come up a lot for some different groups, and I don't know that they've found somewhere to.
So you don't know
land.
anything more?
I have not
Okay.
seen that
Okay, that was
particular
my
article,
question.
no.
I mean, we'll find out on the 30th, but I think I would still like to take the approach that it's for the district personnel first. If we can work it out where they could take advantage of the facility, that's fine. But the members, well, not the members, but the people
Yeah,
living here.
the
come
members,
first.
yeah, members and residents.
All right, so then I'll propose a motion that we just, if the budget is $40,000, we'll give her up to $40,000 to spend on asphalting and do it now.
Right.
Can I do that motion?
Well, I mean, we need to come back with a contract. So, I mean, yeah.
We'll come back
Well,
with a contract.
I'll message Sunday right now, let her know that that's the
Well, do we have to vote on
situation.
that?
I'm assuming then that means the board was okay with staff's suggestion to go with
Correct.
90 Sports. Okay, so I'll work with Sunday. We'll reach out to her. I mean, we'll reach out to 90 and get to work on a contract and try and get that on the books,
Yeah,
at
I'm sure
least
we can have
penciled
that,
in.
yeah,
So
by the
we'll
next board
get
meeting.
that contract and we'll keep you updated as to when we get that.
Can we have it by the next meeting?
Can we have the contract by next meeting? I would imagine so, yeah. Yeah, I would assume that's not going to be an issue.
Okay? Any
Okay.
other questions for Ariel? Any questions from the public?
I have one question for Ariel. Ariel, over the last like 8-10 years, we always did or Bob did, so I don't know whose fault it, who didn't do it or what happened was, but the watch order, we would do a watch order at night and invite anyone that was leaving to come fill papers out, and you would explain what they did. We did not do that this year because I got 2 phone calls asking about watch orders, and I told them that I was retired, but I would check.
What does this have to do with community services?
Because community services used to run it.
At least not for the last 4 years that I've been here. This is actually the first I've ever heard of it, so.
Well, I would like to.
We can
Right.
definitely work
I'd like
with
to
Bob
start
on.
that again for next year. Invite who's ever leaving, because some people know about watch orders, some people don't. And so
Sure. I mean, we
I'd like to
can-
get that on your agenda.
We can work with security. That's not hard. We
All right.
send out some emails and
Okay.
things of that
Yeah,
nature. That's not
all
hard.
I want.
Isn't that part of the
New resident social.
packet?
It is, I don't know. It's.
Ish. What I'm assuming is this is just an
I mean,
opportunity for them to come and ask questions and get a little bit
Right.
more detailed information if they have specific questions.
Right.
Again, that's me making a bold assumption because I've never
Right.
attended or
Right.
participated
Well,
yet,
I don't know
so.
if you were there the last couple of ones, but we did on our own, but I know
Okay.
that they used to put it in the letter, and I'd like to make sure we continue on it, that's all.
Okay.
Okay?
Anything else from the public? All right, code enforcement. Bob?
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Bob Brumfield, Sun and Lake Code Enforcement Officer. Last month of April, we had 125 warning notices and picked up 113 signs. I counted every single one of them. Most of them were hail damage signs, just scattered all over the place, but they were all over. One update on the house on Granada at 5801. That's been fined since, I think, April 6th. The fines have accumulated up to about $4,600 so far. And still no sign of anything going on there.
Have we talked to them at all?
I've sent them multiple letters, never had any contact with them. The county is the one that's doing the fining. It's not Sun Lake, but I've never had contact with them. I believe it started out as Gustavo Ibanez's property. I think he's the one that started it, and he sold it to 4J's Corporation, and never heard anything other than they are mowing it, which is what we had liens on it for.
The parking violations, is that pretty much people just parking on grass?
Yes, not on a prepared surface. Yes, that's correct. We are definitely working on doing away with repeat violators as far as sending out notices of violations. Once I do that, then I send them a citation. We've sent out, I believe, 4 notices of violation so far, but those people have not parked on, they're parking on a prepared surface now. 2 of the 4 made their own little areas with gravel, which is acceptable by our ordinance. And the other 2 have continued to park on their driveway. Most of those are new, out of the 47. 43 of them are ones that I haven't seen otherwise. I know probably about 8 or 10 of those were having social gatherings of some sort or other.
Okay. Any questions for Bob?
Yeah, I have a question. Bob, do you have any numbers over the last year, what you collected on liens, your department?
I don't have anything since last year, but I do have some figures I got
Could
from
you bring it
Amanda.
back? Well, no, that's fine. Can you bring it back
Talk to
next
the mic.
meeting? Oh, can you bring it back next meeting? I'd like to know what we've collected on liens from you. I'm not sure.
Well, since June 23rd of last year, we had collected $167,242.52.
Wow, good.
And there's another $59,073.54 that are not collected. So that's a total of $226,316.
You have 59,000 outstanding?
Correct. This is of June of last year, and I don't have any more recent figures. Amanda was going to get that together for me, but I didn't get it.
But if we got 60,000 outstanding fines, certainly was something we can do about that, isn't it?
Well, the property has to change hands before the fines are paid. So if they can't do anything with their property until the liens are paid. So if they come in and and some of these are properties that there's no structure on. It's just vacant land. And there's a couple of them over in the Miranda Homes area where they had large bonds on them.
Had large what? Bonds?
A couple, I know there's one lady that bought 3 properties over there that had each property, single lots, had about $40,000 worth of bonds on it. And so she's not able to do anything. And she's also got liens against those properties. So she can't sell it. I mean, she just.
But why did we issue citations on?
That's the only way I can get it mowed.
They're cleared lots.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Any questions?
No, I was just kind of wondering where we are with that. Good.
Public comments? Thank you, Bob.
Okay, thank you.
Bob H. Oh, sorry.
Sounds like an echo.
Good morning, Commissioner, Supervisors and Board. We had quite an active month in security, due with that hailstorm. There was numerous of signs that we also picked up for Bob, and dealing with scammers and people going door to door trying to sell their wares. It was numerous calls, especially right in there after the 3rd day of the storm. They just came here from all over everywhere looking to victimize our citizens. A lot of them were. But the Sheriff's Department organized a scam unit, and then they came in, and that reduced most of it. And we assisted them with some of the names of some of the people, and we were taking license plates down and reporting it to them, and then they would verify whether they were actually legal people or not.
Good job.
I have any questions for Bob? I'm just curious about this one. I just, on number 191 on your list,
I got that too.
it says vehicles spinning in circles in parking lot. I had a tough time visualizing that.
I was called by someone in the restaurant where somebody was, our security was called in the evening. Somebody was what we used to call spinning pennies. Donuts. Yeah, spinning donuts in the parking lot of the golf course.
This is on the golf course?
No, not on the golf course, in the golf course parking lot.
With a car?
Yes, it was a purple Dodge Charger, I believe.
So they got called.
You're too old to understand that.
Just out of curiosity, was he doing it when we got there?
We got there the same time the police got there, and they had already vacated. But
they still get a call, so they have to go to it.
What's that?
Was the driver there when the cops got there?
No, they were gone when we arrived. They just spun around a couple times and left. And then when the bar called us, we drive there and they're already gone.
And we've had trouble actually here in recreation in the past. The same thing, remember the guy?
Yeah, in the community center, we were having issues in the community center parking lot here.
And that's what, so.
Let me ask you this, because one a little bit further down, number 251, renters failed to clean building after use at the community center.
That's here at the community center.
So did they
We,
lose their
we
deposit?
log that to support Kelly's, in case they have to bill the person or something like that. When we come and they don't clean up and they're required to make a cleanup and clean the floors, dump the trash, and we do a final inspection for them. If that final inspection fails, we list that as one of our, as a call so that that will support Kelly.
Did they lose, do we know if they lost their deposit?
We don't, that's not our department, that's Kelly.
Did they lose their deposit on that one?
That was that prom group that was here.
So the way that the deposits are run is there's a form that we have that we give to security that's checked off. I want to say there are roughly 10 items. And the way we do it to make it fair so that if and when people come back irritated that they lost some of their deposit, is there is a value assigned to each of them. So whatever your deposit is, divided by 10. With that particular group, anything that they didn't do, things that were left wrong per our standard checklist, yes, they were deducted that amount. We also reached out to the principal at that high school, and I was copied on the email. Kelly very politely but sternly let her know that the way that this building was left was completely unacceptable and unfair for our staff to have to take care of, and that moving forward, we would have to pretty well reevaluate whether or not we were going to allow these types of activities if this is the way that, our facility was going to be left. The principal was, to the best of my knowledge, it seemed like very much unaware of that situation, and I believe that principal got it handled.
Okay, good.
But did we get reimbursed? Did they in fact have a damaged deposit?
They did have a deposit. They had a deposit, and they had deductions from that deposit based on whatever the guidelines were that they did not meet.
So they paid it?
Yeah, they paid to use the facility. Yeah, they paid, and I'd have to go back. I don't have the contract on me to know if they paid full amount or if it was just a deposit or whatever it was, but there was a deduction based on the way the building was left.
It was Avon Park, right?
Okay. Number 282, again, apparently.
We are
we
so
lost the golf
politically
cart.
correct.
No, that's sometimes when the golf course people go out later on in the afternoon, as dark is approaching, the person in charge of the clubhouse will call us. And I was working that afternoon. He called me and said, "Hey, we got a golf cart that's still not out there." And I knew exactly where it was because it was problems we'd had earlier. So I went one way of the course, and the guy from the golf course went the other way, and we didn't pass him. He had crossed over from Deer Run over to Turtles, so we were looking on deer. But by the time we had returned, they had dropped the cart off and vacated. So the cart was there at the end when we got back.
So we knew who it was.
Yes, we knew who it was.
And we know that the golf people know who it was?
Yes.
Okay. I assume they'll take proper action.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
All right, I got this other one now. On 286, there were threats made, subject making threats towards workers. That's not a good thing.
No, that's an individual over on Manor Drive that we've had several issues with. He obviously has problems. The screen guys were parked out, because they can't pull in the grass. They were parked on the road screening the house next door to him. When our water department guy pulled up just briefly enough to walk out and check the hydrant as they do, he wasn't there more than 30 seconds. The guy came running out of his house making all kinds of accusations and threats. I've dealt with him several times. A couple times I've just had to tell him, "Look, go back in your house. I'm not going to talk to you anymore." And he agitates very easily.
I know, he's my old neighbor.
Oh, you know him?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he agitates very easily. And it's not, it's the son. There's the older man and the wife live there, and it's their son. And he's obviously had some issues, but.
I mean, could we do anything about that? Or?
Yes, we reported. The sheriff did report.
Okay.
The sheriff did come and take a report, yes.
Good.
I have to Why do we go out and help lost dogs?
Why do we? Why wouldn't we?
Why wouldn't we?
Well, why aren't the people doing that?
Yeah, they usually call us when a dog gets loose or something like that. They usually call us after they've looked for a while and saying, hey, because they know we're out and about. And they say, hey, look, if you see my dog, this is what he looks like. This is his name.
Okay, I understand that now.
And then we hook up with him. And a lot of I probably know more dogs in this district than I know people.
Yeah, especially when you got the names down.
And you
And
get along
Bob,
with
is
it
it-
better.
It was my impression after our discussion that you said that 50% or more of those calls are the same people that keep calling you to find their dog when they let their dog out and it doesn't come back.
That does happen very commonly here when they're irresponsibly let their dog out without a leash, and then they know they can become issue to animal control so they'll call us and say, hey, have you seen my dog? That does happen.
Okay, good
That does
report.
happen
Any other
frequently.
questions, Bob? Any public comments?
Nope.
Thank you, sir. Utility report. Joey.
Turn it on.
Good morning, Joseph Sleva, Supervisor of Utilities. During the month of April, we had 8 new connections made for water and wastewater. An update on the distribution auto flushers. Working with Drew Jones from Polston, we've come across a hydraulic model that helps know which way the water's flowing through the distribution system. With that, we used it in placing the first 4 auto flushers, which have not been put in yet, but we have started moving forward with the purchasing of the required material to get them installed. Chris and I met with the maintenance department head of Advent Health about the location on their property. I have to get with the contractor now and see what they think is going to be best as far as runoff and just some other various things that are going to come with the flowing water. I've also met with Tanglewood on the 2 proposed locations. We're doing some surveying still in Tanglewood. We're going to figure out what's the best to meet the needs out there, but also not to cause any disruptions in anybody's yard, so on and so forth. So that is in the works. The Tanglewood master meter has not been put in yet, even though it was supposed to be put in this week. They're still waiting on the bolt and gasket kits, which at this point I've ordered multiple to have on the shelf, so it shouldn't be an issue next time. The employees, we did hire 1 utility technician. We've done a couple more, made a couple more calls. Some people didn't show up. Some people hang up on you as soon as you tell them who you are. But luckily we were able to hire 1. It's not on the staff report, but as far as a operator position goes for water and wastewater, we haven't had any bites yet on Indeed. But in hindsight, we do have 2 of our current employees, one scheduled for the 13th of June and one scheduled for the 28th of June to go take their wastewater test. So hopefully they'll pass. I believe they will.
Joey, I'm curious, why do people hang up on you, do you think?
I think a lot of it has to do with benefits that are people receiving and just applying for a job to say they're doing it. And then you call back and they realize who you are and then they hang up because that doesn't help their benefits to accept a job.
Oh, so they're looking for benefits we don't offer.
Well,
No,
the benefits
no,
on through the government benefits, yes.
It's,
Yeah.
it's when you're laid off, you have to tell unemployment how many jobs you applied for.
How would you know that?
How would I know that?
But yeah,
Really?
I've surprisingly, I've had people at this point hang up on me. And then this morning I had one text me and ask me, hey, is that job still available? But I'm like, well, 2 weeks ago you hung up on me. So it's still available, but you can go ahead and apply.
Right.
And they're asking negotiation on price. And I said, well, let's get through your interview first.
Right, they have to do
So,
that for employment.
All right, thank you. That's good.
I guess the main one for this past month, About midnight on Sunday, I think it was the 30th or 31st of this past month, we had a water break on Florida Avenue again. The pipe split from the last repair. It's thin wall, Schedule 40. It's not used any longer in water distribution. Little background though, normal average flow for that time of the night is between 250 and 400 gallons per minute. We're pushing about an average of 2,000 gallons a minute for about an hour. Until me and the technician were able to shut the valves off about 2 o'clock at that point. We didn't have what we needed to repair it, so we left that strip of the area off in that line, in that distribution area. About 6 o'clock in the morning, I was able to get a hold of KDL and get things moving on a repair. They were out here promptly. They did have it fixed relatively quick. We were able to start pulling samples by 3 o'clock, so getting the water moving. I think it needs to be reevaluated in the area, the main line. It's the third split in about 3 months. I've talked with Chris and Drew, and something that we're going to work on, seeing what options we have to eliminate these issues. Seems like it's going to keep happening.
Chris, this is what we spoke about, right? So what is the next step in trying to fix a potential problem?
We're going to see what's in the area. Most likely it's going to be a replacement of the main line to move up to the C900 piping, which is roughly about a 1/2 inch thick versus a 1/4 inch. So,
and how much running feet do we need to replace about?
I think we've, bear with me, I think around 1,000 feet of pipe. There's a spot there. Half of the main line is 8 inches now, and then it has a reducer and goes into 6. We've talked about just bumping it all the way up to 8, just for future demand. And then it's easier to have common size parts on one line versus reducers and so on and so forth.
So when do you think you'll have a solution or a proposal?
I would have to get back to you on that. I truly would not know without talking with engineers and first. So, I mean, it's in the process. It needs to be done. It's on the to-do list. So, but
do we have any idea ballpark how much that might cost us? Ballpark.
1,000 feet of pipe, moving up to that, it would have to be $50 a foot, I would think.
We were estimated about $120,000. So that's the reason for the holdup.
120,000 to put it in?
You've had 3 breaks that cost us, what, $20,000 a piece?
Roughly, yes.
Well,
It's got to be done, it's got to be done, so.
The only reason I'm trying to push it a little bit is if it's something that really needs to be done, it sounds like it's a capital project. And perhaps we should anticipate it in the next capital budget meeting, that we may need those resources. I mean, if we got to do it, we got to do it.
Any kind of funding available for that type of thing?
Well, no, it's just regular operation and maintenance, and it's old school pipe that's too small, and once it starts splitting, and it was the $20,000 question. You got a team out there at 2 a.m, you have water interruption. I will add to that report just briefly, when we met with the hospital folks, and it's not unusual because it's come up in surveys across the nation and confidence in water systems. The last few years, first year, it started diving. And the people at Advent have some concerns about our reliability and quality. Simply because of historical, and Joey and I were there talking to them, historical boil water notices and some issues. And I told them at that point, I said, well, we're getting ready to put a flusher on your system. We're going to put one on the interconnect with Avon Park. We're going to put a generator up there so if the power goes off, that valve will function by itself. And we're working with them on a backflow preventer. But you hate to have your largest customer kind of look at you and question what you're doing. And they have forces above them, like the Hospital Accreditation Board, they're doing Legionnaire disease surveys right now. So it's a touchy subject.
So you satisfied them with your their answers at this point?
They were real happy when we told them the actions we were taking, and that's why we're working with them and we're going to them. And some of these things involve what's happening on their property, but we can help them solve some of those issues.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Joey?
Just to kind of second some of the, like the Tanglewood master meter, the parts that were missing, the break that night, there was a couple parts that were missing. I have started ordering with that, the money that was given to us, approved by you all for the spare parts inventory. I have started purchasing parts. So they're coming in, back order, but things are going to start hitting the shelves. So,
Very good.
yes, sir.
Any questions?
That's all I have.
Public comments? Thank you, sir. Is it council or general manager?
General counsel.
Council first.
Yep, okay. I had a meeting with Cliff Rhodes yesterday, went over the Avanti matter. There's, like I said, the current status of that is we have filed our complaint's been filed by the previous attorney that's deceased. A motion to dismiss was filed by opposing counsel. And Mr. Rhodes had started on doing an amended complaint, but after reviewing during his preparation of the amended complaint, he's determined that it's probably in the best interest of the district to have an actual hearing on the motion to dismiss so we can flush out, any potential issues that opposing counsel has. And so he's in the process of scheduling that hearing. Once that hearing is held, we'll have, he's going to be able to quantify and I guess focus in on the issues that relate to the suit. It's indisputable that we have that we're covered by the warranty because they say we have a 10-year full warranty on encoder registry and the MTU radio modules, but it's actually, it's a 20-year warranty because the first 10 years are full and the second 10 years are prorated. So basically what we're trying to do is focus in on why they're trying to get it dismissed. They're claiming that there's only a 1-year warranty, and it's ludicrous because a 1-year warranty is what's listed in the actual contract, but the supporting documents that become a part of the contract, the RFP, calls for those extended warranties, and those warranties are in existence. So anyway, that process is moving forward, but slowly. The Auckland matter, when it was originally filed, Auckland is the bondholder, and they are trying to wipe out the Fifth Third Bank issue, the subservient bondholder. I call them bondholders, not really a bondholder. So for some reason, they dropped Fifth Third as a defendant. And my discussion with Mr. Rhodes is that's not possible. They are what's called a indispensable party. They have to be a party to the lawsuit. And I'm sure you all received a copy of the commercial loan past due notice to the tune of $3.3 million. Did you guys get a copy of that?
I don't know if they got it. Chris, do we send it out to them?
Yes.
I think that was mailed to everybody. It was.
Yeah, so anyway, that came in around May 11th. My discussion was with Mr. Rhodes, and I talked with Chris, what we're going to try to find out is how often we remit payments to Fifth Third. Because now that this notice has come in claiming that we're delinquent, if we provide them additional funds, we may be locking ourselves into this number, and we definitely don't want to do that. So
I thought our auditors told us that this was a dead issue and it was dropped off the books and we were clear. Correct?
Well, as far as the what we have to borrow against, or if it's
it's not being held against us.
As far as the accounting goes, but it's still a potential issue. And now that they have issued this past due notice, what we don't want to do is provide them additional funds that say, you're correct, or we're not, we need to dispute this, basically, is what's going to happen.
Okay.
And so what we have already filed a response with affirmative defenses stating that Fifth Third is an indispensable party. And so we're moving forward with that process to get it. Basically, we're going to try and consolidate it all into the currently existing Auckland matter so that we can resolve all the issues at once. Because the Auckland matter technically only involves about 30 properties. But the Fifth Third involves a lot more properties. So we're trying to consolidate and get that all taken care of at one time.
Okay.
So that's where we're at with that. I'm in the process of developing a revised contract for my services so that I can kind of assist in the budgeting process. My rates are going to go up a little bit, but I'm kind of trying to offset that with some additional proposed duties that I would take on. But I'm working with Chris with that, and we'll probably have that in the next budget meeting or two. Other than that, the one other thing I wanted to remind, there's been some discussion in the past few weeks, but I need to go back to the requirement for supervisors. Supervisors are not supposed to individually direct any district staff. All direction has to come. It's board policy B-1108 about not directing district staff. If there's any questions about how district staff is performing, that needs to go to Chris, not to individual staff members. Just a reminder.
Okay.
So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I have a question on that. When I meet with the.
In the microphone.
When I meet with, like I've been meeting with, Ray asked me to meet with Bob and Joey and stuff for the last couple of days. So what can I say? What can I say?
You can ask for information or recommendations, but
Okay.
you can't individually direct them to say, take this course of action. You just get
Well,
information.
I haven't, but I just wanted to know, okay. But it's legal for me to meet with them?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Information and recommendations for those purposes,
Okay.
but you don't issue any directives to any board staff. Anything that you want, based on that information that you receive, if you want some action to be taken, you can bring it up to Chris, and then Chris puts it on the agenda and it gets brought to the board.
And I think if that's going on, you should let the board know. Because I don't know what direction is sometimes, but there's a lot of it going on. But if any supervisors are doing that, we should know. And we should I think this is probably a nice way of you trying to get somebody to quit, but
Yeah, well,
to quit doing it.
Just a reminder. So I mean, I'm not making any accusations or anything.
Yeah,
I'm just saying
well-
this is a reminder because there's some stuff that's happened in the past that may be considered this. Just to reiterate, that's the board policy, and please be aware of it.
And we can't discuss anything that might come up for a vote, correct?
Correct, with any other supervisors, correct. But you can discuss that because all of you guys meet individually with Chris. You can discuss anything you want to with him, and it's on Chris to make sure that he doesn't allow cross-contamination.
Thank you.
For lack of a better term.
But sometimes we need help on what direction really is. Like I asked just to meet with Ariel. And for some reason that was direction, and that's not direction. That's meeting with her and seeing what was going to go on. I mean, that's not direction.
Correct. Advice and information,
Okay.
and you're allowed to get it anytime.
That's right. Okay.
Any other questions? Any public comments? General Manager's report.
Sure. One thing I didn't have on there, and we're still struggling, working with the kitchen AC. We had one contractor that was putting together a final bid, and he needed some road information, and that's been going on for 2 weeks since he's told me he was going to come back with the final number. So trying to get bids, trying to get quotes for anything, even with the pickleball, took us almost 2 months to get the quotes that we have right now in place.
I need a clarification on how we're doing things these days. I thought that when we agree to what I think is an RFP saying spend $55,000 on the air conditioning unit or what have you, that's like us signing off on it. It's all the work's been done. And now it's just a question of executing. Is that not the way we go anymore?
He's got to get bids for the.
To do an RFP, you have to come to us with bids and say, this is who I want to do. This is what I want to do, and this is how much it's going to cost us. And then if we vote on it, we're just finalizing the package and it should be implemented. Is that not correct?
Yeah, not entirely. So the threshold for an RFP, if I'm remembering correctly, is $50,000. If the project is estimated to be $50,000 or more, an RFP has to be issued. And then once that RFP is issued, the bids come in, and then we bring the bids to the board for approval with a recommendation.
And
What
if
if
it's
it's under
not
50?
50,000, what's the process?
If it's under 50,000, then it's three bids.
Yes, so back in July, when the board adopted there were some policy revisions that Omar had presented. One of the things that we talked through at the board meeting was the purchasing policy and the updates that we made to that. We made updates with regards to the term in which we could do a piggyback contract, and then the thresholds, because it hadn't been updated in so long, and the thresholds that were currently there were so low, it was holding up business basically from being done. So I pulled the minutes just in case this question came up. It says on there that it was from July, I believe it says 27th. It says a Tuesday. I don't remember meeting on a Tuesday, but that was a year ago. So that's what the board minutes say. That's where you can find it if you're interested in seeing that particular policy. The way that it reads is that under 50,000, let's see, estimated to cost in excess of 5,000 must be approved by the Board of Supervisors by resolution. At minimum, 3 quotes will be provided to substantiate the recommendation. Valid piggyback agreements can forego the quote requirements. So anything that goes $25,000, basically between that 25,000 and 50,000, we clearly have to come and get board approval for that project, but it requires 3 quotes, not an RFP. Anything over 50,000, clearly we have to get board approval for as well, but that constitutes us having to put it out for public bid with an RFP.
But didn't we not approve 50,000 to be spent to repair that air conditioner?
I thought we did.
Oh, yeah, you approved that, but we were getting bids from the contractors and they were all looking to be that way under 50,000. It's still going to be under 50,000, but I don't have the final number to be able to give the guy a contract and sign it to get to work.
Oh.
And even that 3 bid becomes a problem because Marmar walked away. Our prime contractor, Aaron Electric, said we do this much of it, but we aren't going to do 2 other pieces of it, but we really aren't interested at this time because we're too busy. So we do have a solid third.
I'm not arguing on the end result. What I'm confused about is how we get there. I understand that you have to get the bids, but I don't understand. I mean, you asked for the money, we gave you the money, and then you went out to source it? Who's going to do it?
Well, we already started getting quotes at that time when we asked.
Why wouldn't, I guess, why?
We approved up to 50,000.
We approved up to 50, but then don't we have to, so when you figure out who it is, are we going to have to go through this process again, or is it done?
No, you've approved up to 50,000. If it's under 50, I sign it and get them working.
I think what Chris was doing, he was trying to give us information what was going on, right?
Trying to get it moving too,
Right,
and I knew we
exactly.
could do it
I mean,
under
he was trying to
50.
get it moving. It wasn't like, he's trying to get it done because there was complaints about the kitchen. Yeah. Right.
So board approval is not the holdup. The holdup is getting the number, if I'm understanding correctly.
Right, but shouldn't the way it should work, and correct me if I'm probably wrong on this, is they do the homework, they get the bids, they come to the board and say, it's going to cost, this is what we're recommending this guy, it's going to cost $50,000 if we have your blessing. And then the board decides, right?
Yeah, in a perfect world, but basically, like I say, this is
not a perfect
yeah,
world.
well, this, like I said, this is an emergent situation where we know we have this issue. So we know it's going to cost, or it's estimated to cost less than 50. So we're coming to you now saying to, give us the ability to approve this project, assuming it comes in under $50,000. We're going to get our 3 bids. We're going to take the lowest of those 3 bids, or we're going to make a recommendation or a determination as to who should do it. You've already approved it as long as it's less than the 50. But they still have to go through the 3 bid process, if that makes sense.
Right. Makes sense.
Yes, and he's just having a hard time getting the 3 bids.
And we had the objective with everything included, we assumed was going to be right around 42,000, 45 put in a contingency, and we're still at that number. But getting the final number where I can sign it and make the work happen's been the problem.
The holdup's not you guys, it's the contract.
Right.
You've done everything you need to do.
The problem is the contractor's got to get 2 more contractors, get prices to help him finish the job. And he's having trouble getting people to come to work.
And an RFP is a very formal process over 50,000 where it's advertised in the newspaper, you know, with bid specifications and
I
a
just
60-day process.
I don't know why we always have obstacles in trying to get things done. Maybe that's where I'm confused.
Well,
We
right now
signed
it's-
off on this
Yeah.
$50,000
Market
a
right
couple
now.
months ago, and we're still at first base. I guess I'm just frustrated that the process seems to be taking a very long period of time, and there's always a reason why.
Well, right, when we came forward, we were trying to get out in front of it and get the board approval so we could solicit it and get approval and tell people, hey, we have the money, let's go, get the quotes. And we had solid numbers, and our number is still solid. Getting someone to do the work's a different story.
So have we awarded the contract?
No.
We can't get a final number. That's what we're waiting on. As a final, we can't sign a contract or approve Chris can't approve a proposal until we have a final number.
A final contract. That's all we got to do.
And it took us 2 months to get a septic tank company to come out and replace a drain field for $9,000.
I mean,
As far as this 3-bid rule, as long as we make a good faith effort, such as on the.
What we just did
Right.
with the resurfacing.
Right. That's,
So
as long as
if
just
we have,
good
if
faith.
we have an issue getting that third bid, we just come to you guys and say, look, here's the problem. And you guys have the ability to suspend that policy.
Okay, I guess you answered that. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll just bring up briefly too, we did the facility risk management report, spend a little over $20,000 addressing all these issues. The shop in the back, the staff worked really hard. It looks really good back there. We have all the flammables in the proper containers. The buildings have been cleaned up. Couple outstanding thing is we still have this array of antennas that's up behind the office. It was in the report. Those were from old handheld radios that they used for security back in the days, and also that failed meter system. Right now, they're just hurricane bait. I'm going to try to find a contractor that'll take them down for the scrap value of the metal.
Send Joey up there. He can do it.
Sure. That would be a OSHA. And also another thing that was outstanding is that it said hydraulic lifts should undergo an annual inspection and maintenance process. Well, we had them inspected and they failed. So they're being repaired now, but we didn't know they failed because they weren't inspected in yearly when they were supposed to be done, but we're working on that too. And we have one minor issue with the playground. We've taken care of that with the mulch and the trips and slips and falls and the sharp objects out there, but it took some money. But we're reducing that exposure and liability. And I also gave you a copy that just came in from John's Eastern on all the claims we've had. Joe, you'll be glad to know utilities is number one on the injuries, but that's what we're trying to do is reduce all those numbers across the board. And to say staff did a great job back there, because if you go back and look around that shop now compared to 3 or 4 months ago, the vehicles were getting them lettered, fire extinguishers in them, safety equipment that we needed. It's come a long way.
What else?
And facilities plan, the big dollars for stormwater and the wastewater. Holston Engineering did finish the stormwater portion. We're waiting on the wastewater, and we'll bring those up for discussion at the June 3rd meeting. And at that time, asked to set a public hearing on the 17th, so the board can consider and approve those two plans. And then we submit them to the FDEP for consideration for their August SRF funding meeting. And in that August meeting, they're basically approving the project, giving you the terms for that loan. And then you move forward there, getting an agreement from them. And as of a couple of days ago, the interest rates for the wastewater loans was 0.02%. And on the water side, if you need that, 1.74%. So they're still way below market. And the federal government just put another $1.9 billion into that SRF fund across the country. The state revolving loan fund basically is federal funding. The state adds a little bit to it, but it's repaid by the loans that they give. So it's supposed to be self-sustaining. And I'd like to ask Drew, stand up, because those facility plans, we'll use those and basically take the same information and put them into the templates that the state wants for their House Bill 53 requirements and get that requirement satisfied. And a lot of people are hiring consultants just to do that. And I also wanted to ask Drew just to talk on basin inspections for a moment on the stormwater side.
Okay. We recently did the Eastern Basin pond inspection, which is required by Swift Mud. That's one of it's pretty much from the maintenance facility, Columbus area, all of Turtle North. So that whole quadrant of Sun and Lake is called the Eastern Basin. And it's pretty much all the ponds that are in and around Turtle Run Golf Course, that are at least part of the treatment system. There's a handful that aren't in the actual stormwater system, but the majority of them are. And we have to look at them and check and make sure they're still following the Swift Mud permit, make sure the structures are clean, the berms are functioning as they're intended, and no one's removed them or broken anything or anything's failing. I did have a few things to note in our report that I submitted to Chris. I'm going to work with Bob on getting a map marked up so the maintenance guys can come in and fix some of it. But I did notice, and I haven't noticed it in the past like 10 years, looking at the previous reports too. We've had a lot of pond berms washing out around the golf course. I don't know if that's just because we're in a drought condition this year. In the past year, we were a little drier than normal, but I'm sure y'all probably seen them if you've been out there. They put a lot of riprap. I think that's a golf course. They've been managing it and trying to stay ahead of it, but I know they've been putting big riprap on a lot of the trouble locations. But there's still quite a few locations that are washing out, but I don't know the exact cause of that. I don't know if it's because they're trying to maintain them with a nice white sand on the berms. I know that's not good for erosion overall, but they've been that way for a while from what I understand. It's just they're starting to wash out more than normal. That's something that we need to make sure we address, just because it's bad for the golf course, and it's Swift Mud isn't going to like that if we're having erosion problems.
Have you talked to Jimmy about that?
Not yet. I just got the report done yesterday.
Okay.
We'll make sure we address it, and that might be something where we might need to add a few more dollars in funds to help them make sure that's not a continuing problem. I don't know if we need, I know they talked about asking for money for riprap in other locations to y'all. The riprap, the rocks that they're putting on the banks. I just thought it was one pond. I didn't realize they've been putting it in quite a few of them. I'm sure it's to help address the erosion, but we either need to do that or allow vegetation probably to grow back in on the slopes, but I know that's probably not desirable from a visual or aesthetic standpoint. That's just a maintenance concern. That's not detrimental, but we did have behind, is it Turner Furniture, the big ponds over there on the north end, the skimmers had been stolen because they're made out of aluminum. The skimmers, they're the aluminum or metal fixtures that are on the concrete boxes. I'm assuming someone took it because I don't think anyone would have, it wasn't there anymore. It didn't just break off or fall off. I think we put new ones up and new structures in 2016 and 17. So I'm assuming since it's out in the middle of nowhere, people just decided they wanted the aluminum for scrap, but that's something we'll have to replace. But the rest of it's mostly maintenance, vegetation removal. It's nothing detrimental, but that is part of the HB 53, the House bill, that we'll have to do a 20-year plan. Stuff like that can be rolled into it for continual maintenance because we have to show, a lot of that's showing financials from what I read. There's an Excel sheet and we have to figure out what we're doing and how much all of it's going to cost for 20 years. So that can be mowing ditches, that can be trimming around the ponds, just regular maintenance, but it's also everything else we do. Like if the skimmers fall off or get stolen, we have to put line items in that. But to tie that back into our SRF, we were working mainly on the Western Basin for the SRF funding. But it's anything, culverts crossing the road that are potentially going to fail, anything like that, we got to roll into that 20-year plan.
You're talking about that plan that we have?
Yep. Plus the facilities plan are generated to get the money from the DEP. They require it to demonstrate the need in 3 options. The House Bill 53 is the governor putting the squeeze on special districts and local governments, saying, what do you need to get done in the next 20 years? How much money do you have? And what's your funding gap? And by the way, how are you going to solve that funding gap to address these needs?
Right, which we already were doing that.
Yep. Yeah, and we're going to, those plans go to the county in June.
Are you telling me that you think we're going to need more than that number that I have already?
You talking about the 4.5 to 5 million?
No, I'm talking about the 6 million that you gave me.
Over a 20-year period, yes.
Well, of course, I'm talking about
Yeah.
the catch up and fix what we need to fix based on our conversations.
That's a very open-ended question. We have to consider what we're going to be spending every year. Do you want to try to take a crate? I don't want to overextend the district with stuff. We originally provided it was over $10 million.
Right.
And we've cut it back twice from that. So I'm not saying the 5 million isn't going to make a substantial impact. It is. It's going to address a lot of the neglected things towards the west. But there are smaller items. They're not like millions of dollars like each item. We don't have major structures on this end of the district failing. We've repaired and replaced and maintained a lot of that. But there are.
What do you need? Do you need a number? If I told you that we're going to consider, this is just me, consider spending $6 million to play catch up and give you $300,000 a year for sewer and drainage, does that suffice for what you guys are looking for?
That's what we're looking at right now, getting those final numbers.
Well, you better keep it at 300,000 and 6 million. Don't you think that's a bit much?
Yeah.
Well, that's why we've got to take in consideration, okay, if we're going to continue our 200 to 250,000 a year for drainage maintenance, we don't necessarily need to roll every little thing that we might ever do on this end of the district or anything that may fail. We don't want to put that in a loan and it's like repairing something that's not broken yet. We don't want to try to do something like that. But if it's a bunch of smaller projects that we're going to cover as our yearly work goes on, that's up to y'all to decide if it ultimately.
We're going to go over that report next June 3rd, right? I assume that everything's listed there is something we need to do. Otherwise, why would you put it in the report?
Everything in that report is something we need to do. That's everything that's damaged from pretty much Cortez. There's a few items within the area here, but pretty much Cortez West are the major items. That's what I was directed to do originally when we were asking when the fund opportunities came available.
Well, I would go under the assumption that the board will consider this and hopefully will approve it, do whatever, and then come up with a number for every year that suffices what he needs to do for this report.
Right.
And I assume it'll be close to what we are working with. I hope.
And the SRF loan for that is really a backlog of neglected infrastructure where you're continual year in, year out. You can still use that, but it's not like total replacement like SRF or your engineering design. You're still doing your repair and maintenance every year.
That's correct.
This is to cover the backlog of stuff that's out there and is disintegrated, needs to be rebuilt.
That we haven't done.
And by permit, we're required to do, because it's not just Drew and myself looking over your shoulder. You have the water management district looking at those reports and now state government.
Right.
You better get your numbers right.
Right. And the problem is we keep putting stuff off, keep putting stuff off. And now look where we are today again.
$5 million.
$5 million. And we keep putting it off. And we've been saying that for 10 years.
The report says 6.
Well, whatever it is.
Well, I think it depends on which items you're adding because there's administration and stuff.
We'll talk about it, but have some good numbers. I mean, assuming that that's what we're going to consider on June 3rd.
Correct.
Then you guys got to tell us if you can live with that 275 or 300,000 that we give you every year to make whatever you have to do for the county or the
Correct.
state. Correct.
That's what we're going to develop as part of that state the House bill thing. We're going to develop how much we need. And it's, as inflation and everything grows, as the years go on, we're going to probably need to bump that up. That's part of that whole thing. That's why we're doing that. That's why the state's requiring it. So we know, okay, if we want to maintain our level of service, we got to add 25 grand a year, or whatever it is that we're going to come up with to help. It's just inflation.
Say 2,500 a year.
If we needed,
Money doesn't grow on trees, just keep that in mind.
correct, but that's where you say,
What?
That's for federal government.
that's where you got to come up with your level of service that you're.
We have to stop saying no, and fixing things around.
He's asking us to spend $6 million. Is that a no? You think that's a
Did
no?
they give it to him?
It's our decision.
Okay. I mean,
Next.
We also got a letter from a resident concerning the gas tax, and we're going to meet with them at a later date and talk to them about it.
Yeah, I've talked, just so you know, I talked to Mr. Halbig. We've decided not to have his letter read into this meeting and have no conversation on it. And I will meet with him, David, and Chris separately in the next couple of weeks and have a conversation with him. If it needs to then come to the board, we'll bring it to the board.
okay.
But to revisit it,
As the board, we have already said that we're going.
That's right. I don't know why we have
Pursue
to
this any further.
that's what we're going to do.
And I'll also,
Craig, what did you say? I'm sorry, as a board, we what?
As a board, we determined that we were no longer going to pursue anything from the county concerning the gas tax.
Okay.
That's correct.
I agree.
That is correct, and I voted for it as well, but I'm going to have a meeting with him nonetheless, with these two gentlemen, and see what he has to say. Theoretically, I'm sparing you doing it here.
Yeah, Mr. Halbig is free to come every meeting and talk during public comment about the gas tax if he wants to. We can't do that. We can't stop him from doing that. So we're going to address it and try to avoid any further discussion regarding.
and several weeks ago, we had a discussion about some duplex housing and county approvals for zoning and housing product. Well, this last week, we got in a proposal to put a 750 square foot modular on a lot that is not an HOA. And the guy said, well, I've got my approval from the county. So that's what you have now that's looking at you, is lots that aren't in the HOAs. They're just undeveloped lots because they're zoned R1 and R3, 750 square foot minimum housing size. We just got application in for that, and the county's approved it already.
And Chris, where is that?
I might have to get the address for you.
I thought
Drew
at one
seen it.
time we
have gone to the county with our recommendations
Right.
on the specs that we would have liked to have seen, and we were turned down.
Just to add to the home he was talking about, Sunday forwarded me the plans. It's a shipping container home. I'm not lying. I think it's 3 wide to get to their 750 square feet. It's just,
Where is this going?
I don't have the address. I was just.
No.
Where is it? Ariel?
And actually, when he says that shipping, people have been getting very innovative by stacking those up and cutting windows. I mean, actually making some nice products out of it. But all I'm saying is, I don't know if there's anything we can do about it in an HOA, different story, because they have some covenants and restrictions according to the HOA.
We are limited to we don't have any additional requirements or specifications that differ from the county. If it's permitted under county zoning, we can't stop them.
So out back, like beyond Cortez, they can do anything they want.
Depends on what it's zoned, but if it's
Yeah.
zoned, if it passes county zoning, there's nothing we can do to
They
stop
can
it.
put tiny houses.
Correct, and yeah, 750 square feet.
Yeah.
For R1, R2, and R3. R1A is the 1,000 square foot threshold.
Let me say it one more time. The board
I
changed to the recommendation, the board made a recommendation to the county on what specs we would like to see for the district. And the county said no. So that's it. If you would
See,
like to
David-
revisit it again, I guess we could, but I would
There's
assume
nothing
we'll
we
get
can
the
do.
same answer.
I mean, we could go, but we can ask the county again, but they've already made a decision. So I don't know why they would make a different decision.
Can we change the zoning?
This was like,
We can't.
what was this, 2 years ago?
If we cannot, because we don't own the property.
I think it's when Mark was on the board.
No, Kurt.
Michael was on the board, I was on the board. And obviously Tanya was on.
How do you get
running.
how do you get this R1A?
Oh, it's already zoned that way. So, I mean,
Well, you said that's 1,000 square foot.
yeah, so there's properties in the district. Some are zoned R1, some are zoned R1A, some are zoned R2, and some are zoned R3. So, and I think we probably have, R3 takes care of all the multi-use stuff. So I don't know if there's anything
Right.
different than R1, R1A, R2, and R3. I think is everything that's in the district except for the commercial property.
So
That's
they're gonna
correct.
allow, we're gonna allow to put a
No,
container
the county
houses.
is going to allow.
Well, whatever.
Yeah, we cannot stop them. We do, let's say we can't stop it.
We cannot change the zoning.
What?
We cannot because if the district does not own the property, we cannot change the zoning.
Does the county own the property?
I don't know who owns it, but it's probably the individual property owners or the whatever company is going to be
Where
putting
is
in the small houses.
I don't have an address.
And the county,
Roughly.
all that zoning
They
was
didn't
done
tell
when
me
they started
anymore.
with, in 85 with comprehensive land use planning and assigning zoning categories, and they laid it out. And then it's up to a property owner to come in there and say, oh, I want to rezone to multifamily or a higher density or a lesser density. Otherwise, it is what it is. And that hasn't changed in years, the zoning. I just thought I'd let you know, Mike.
You have any other good news, Chris? Otherwise, I'm going to cut you off.
Cut me off.
Move on. Any questions for him?
I don't even like saying this out.
Go ahead. You might as well.
Save it for the golf club.
No, I will talk to Mr. Schumacher. Jesus.
Okay, let's go on to,
And that's just the permit report that's in the book, the number of permits that we've issued month by month and what they're for. And as you see, the numbers are going up.
Well, they'll be going down if we start letting.
Yeah, well, maybe.
There's no baby about it.
Yep, and of course, the general election flyer and all the posting information's up too, and that's even out on the electronic billboard on 27.
that general election flyer,
Can we establish a wall-to-wall HOA?
No,
We cannot affect property we don't own.
no, we can't. We tried, Greg, and they won't let us. Certainly. I wish we could, but
can we take that general election flyer and put it in the newspaper?
Like general circulation newspaper?
Yeah, the Highlands, whatever, we got in the newspaper.
We posted an ad, didn't we?
Right.
Yeah, we posted an advertisement. Maybe not the exact same thing as that
Well, we
flyer. but
posted that little thing that nobody reads.
Right.
I'm talking about this flyer that we have. Could we put that in the newspaper?
Sure, for about $1,800, we could do that.
I think it's worthwhile.
general election announcement.
Why do you think it's worthwhile?
Huh? Because I don't think anybody really knows who's running, that this is going on.
Well, and how many people do you think read the newspaper in Sun and Lake?
I'm sorry?
How many people do you think read the newspaper in Sun and Lake? How many people do you think take the newspaper in Sun and Lake?
I do.
I do.
I don't.
I do.
4 out of 5 here.
Yeah.
4. I would just say it's an idea. If you guys don't think it's a good idea, fine.
I don't think it's a good idea, but just because it's $1,800, and I don't know if it's going to make any difference, but
And it is in the newsletter and it's going to everybody in the district and it's posted in the restaurant, golf club and the office. But if you'd like, I think that gets to that direction, make a motion and tell us to do it and we'll be glad to.
No. $1,800, no.
That's fine. Scratch that idea. Is there, I guess on the website, you're taking over the website now? Is that going to be your baby, or is that going to be, whose baby is that? Who's running who's going to be,
Are you referring to the new website?
yeah,
Well, obviously that would fall within some organizational changes, but as Chris mentioned, that would, if Kelly was promoted into the position of Director of Community Services, that would be something that she would handle.
so Kelly's going to be
Yes,
in charge of the
obviously,
website.
once all of that kind of morphs and we adopt or make whatever effective changes for an org chart, yes.
Well, she's in charge of the website. Correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't she have to get in contact with the people that we signed this agreement with to get this thing running?
Yeah, we're already filling out the survey they asked us for and getting them the
So Kelly's
photography
involved
they
in
asked
this.
for, yeah.
Yes, we're all collectively going to be meeting. Kelly is currently not the person that is in charge of a website. We are all collectively working to meet with them to make sure that it fits the needs of the departments that are most affected and need to be published on the website.
Okay, when do you think we can have an update on the website?
We'll bring it to you at the next, second
What?
meeting, 17th. That's when we
Okay,
do our staff
17th
report.
is fine. I believe that covers the general manager. Any new business?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Why do we have to have meetings why do we have to have meetings on a Friday? Why can't we move meetings to a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday instead of going every Fridays?
I don't know.
Because what I seen.
What would be the benefit of changing it?
Well, the benefit is like, if people need time off, it usually starts on weekends and stuff, or a Monday, a Friday. We don't get anybody here on Fridays anyways, so why can't we go to a Tuesday, a Monday? And, what's the difference? What's the difference what day we meet?
It doesn't matter.
What?
There's no, I'm not aware of any legal requirements that we have it on a Friday, but we do have a published and approved schedule currently.
Right.
So anything we want to change, we'd have to go through that process, and we'd have to notify people. But there's no requirement that we have to have it on a Friday.
I just think it's, I really, every other Friday, I just think even for the employees, and it's tougher on them too. If they want to take off for a long weekend, they can't. Right or wrong?
I think the board would be happy to entertain that.
Well, I would like to entertain.
We're not
move the
entertaining
meetings.
it right now because we're set for the year.
Can
And
we
I'm not
move
going to
it?
change it.
David?
Yeah, if we want to come up with a proposal, if someone's going to come up with a proposal, it'd have the
People
proposed
have
change.
already made their schedules based on the calendar
If anyone made the
that we have in
schedules for these
place.
meetings, I'll be shocked.
You
I hate
know,
to tell you.
I have.
I have.
Well, you two don't go anywhere anyway. I
am not
entertain it.
interested,
Okay.
Michael, I am not interested in changing this year's schedule. I'd be more than happy to look, and I'm sure the board would be happy, to look when we go to address next year's schedule.
Okay, thank you. That's what I want to do.
Perfect.
And
I
have
agree
the
with that.
conversation at that
Okay.
point in time.
All right.
Right now, it's not,
Yeah, okay. No, that's good. I'm good with that.
is
I'm not even going
there
to entertain it.
anything else? Michael, got anything else?
No.
Any other discussions to and from board? Michael, just give me an update quickly on this situation with the equipment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I met with Joey, Bob, Chris, and the golf people. We are coming up with a way to save money on the equipment. I've made a lot of phone calls of the best ways to do it. I've asked Jimmy to get back with me with figures. I think I get Jimmy on board with me. I've talked to Bob Brumfield and Joey about using each other's equipment, which basically we do a lot of that now already. But to go out and lease for another 4 years, from what I understand from the 3 places I called, all 3 things that cost us more money to do it that way. So I think if we lease maybe half the equipment and buy the other half, I don't know what the buyout's going to be. I thought it was going to be $1 at the end of the contract, and I always heard that, but then I was told it wasn't. So I asked, what would the cost, for instance, for a gator? What percentage would the company charge us to buy that gator? And I was told 20% is usually the going cost of the value of it. So, or the value right now would be 20%. So for instance, we pay $7,000 for the gators that Jimmy has. We would probably end up paying somewhere around $2,000, $2,500. Then we would take it, we would take the maintenance over. We do have 2 mechanics on duty anyways. And most equipment's in pretty good shape. The equipment that's not in good shape, that's probably would be the stuff that we would send back and lease for 4 years. But that's where I am right now. So, I mean, the people I work with are pretty good. Any questions?
Yeah, how many, I don't know if I have it here, but how many gators do we have?
23,
And how many on the golf course?
12,
Okay,
13. But
so there's 11 in the district and 12?
there's
Okay.
11 on district, but that includes, that includes water and sewer and roads.
Okay.
But you have to also remember, that's the main transportation to get people to work.
Yeah, and is this,
But
have you guys decided on how much this is gonna be cut? Or are you telling us they're gonna keep the same or?
No, we are definitely going to cut.
Mhm.
But right now, the district owns all the gators that they have. So my suggestion would be, Joey or Bob, can you correct me? But I think we have a couple that, I mean,
Around 2007, 2008.
right, so
2009.
every couple years, we would trade those in and get new ones. But that's only for the district, maybe 1 or 2. I know Joey uses his right now for water meters and stuff. And I also have some ideas, which I haven't told Joey this, that we have some trucks that kind of sit a long time during the day and stuff, and they're older, and I think that we should look into trading them in to save some money too, and maybe buy a couple utility trucks or a utility truck and a gator. I don't know, but I mean, right now, I started work on that Monday, and that's where I am with it. But I definitely think that we can save money. Absolutely.
Okay, keep working on it.
Thank you.
When you got something to give us.
Okay.
You got something else, Mike?
I just wanted to say that I called my friends at Brown again. They have 36 holes like we do. They don't have a district, so I don't know about that, but their golf course has 8 gators, but they're not gators, they're easy go, whatever it is, and 2 of them are real old that the superintendent and his assistant drive, so they have 6 good gators for 36 holes. I don't have any recommendation, I'm just telling you what, a place that's for profit, they have 6 that they use for their employee. And you just told me we have 12, so.
Well, we have 12, but also we use.
I'm not saying, Mike, I
No,
don't need
no,
explanation,
no.
I just.
And I didn't say this, but the golf course they use also for, what's her name there uses it, for the beer carts. They use
Yeah,
1 or 2
well,
there.
it's.
And see, the problem is we bought some a couple years ago, these utility, for that, and it seems they keep breaking down. And my question was, why do they keep breaking down? Are we maintaining them? And what I'm told is they overload them, and it's long distance and stuff. So you know what? If that's the case, we know that. Why did we ever buy them? Who suggested the buy?
Mike, that's, I just wanted, I can't call you up and you and the rest of the board and tell you, but Brown has 6 workable gators. And that's all I just wanted to pass that on.
Wow, I mean, I don't know how big it is. I mean, when I talked to Jimmy, my initial meeting with him is we needed them, and I said, no, we don't. And I said, we have to make cuts. So, and he's working with me on that now.
Okay, keep working on it.
Okay.
I could tell you on the surface, it seems to me like there is a reluctance for anybody to give up anything.
Right.
Which is really unfortunate because it's just really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Just listen.
Well, Ray, it's going to be bad, but I can tell you, and I don't mean this critical at all, but we have Billy Casper, Golfer, Troon on the committee that they've been here all these years. We have Mike, who's on the committee and has been here and was all part of that. So, I mean, we gotta, we're gonna see some of that. But I guess it's a job for us 5 to decide, and that's why I wanted to just mention.
Well, the Brown organization that had 36 holes, I would like to see their whole
So would
utility
I.
because a gator is a gator, but maybe they have other equipment they use like a gator.
I asked that, and that's what I was told, because I thought there would be extra things, but I can call him back and get that, Bev, but I did ask him any workable, what they have, and they have 36 holes, just like we do, and they have 6 workable gators for their employees and 2 for superintendent and, or 1 for, they're old ones.
How many employees, Mike?
I don't know, but they got 36 holes, so it doesn't make any difference. I'm sure they have less than what we have. I know that.
Establish 36 holes is fine, but is it a public golf course? Is it a private golf course?
Public.
I'm just trying to, well.
Public and private, just like ours.
Okay.
Let's see what they
Let me
come
work
back
on it.
with.
I promise you I'll bring back cuts. One
I
way or
think-
another,
I
it'll
think
be less than where we are.
The most important thing, Michael, is to bring it back in a form that we all mere mortals can read and understand with the equipment, like all
Okay.
these, lawnmowers,
Yeah, well, I have some
tractors.
here, but.
I mean, give it to us so we can understand it.
Okay.
And then I
All
think, we'll see what happens.
All right.
I just don't think that anybody wants to give up anything. They're all being selfish.
Well,
Just an
and Ray,
observation.
you're right, and I actually said that to him. I said, every golf superintendent wants new stuff. Everybody. It's like you want a new car, you don't buy used. Any of us,
Okay, let's go on.
right?
Are there any other questions or issues or public comments? There's no public left. Is anything else? Okay, I think we'll, you want to take a TV timeout? Or?
Yes, we need
2-minute
to.
break, then we do the budgets.
2. I need to make phone calls.
Check your thing.
This
Green, everybody got
conference will
green?
now be recorded.
Whatever this piece of paper is.
This one?
Yeah, that was me, that was when I went through what Chris had prepared.
Yeah.
His cover sheet includes transfers and all that kind of stuff, which we really don't look at. So I gave him last year's summary sheet that Omar used to do for us. And then I changed it a little bit to make it work. So what you see here now is, obviously, the first column is 22, 23 estimated totals. That's just off of these reports. The general fund numbers is what Chris is going to present today. You have operating revenues, expenses, and then excess for capital. The number below that, in this case, the 713,000, that's the number that I came up with based on our first capital meeting. So that's after the first pass. Doesn't mean it's in, that's just after the first pass. So if you're reading the general fund, it's got a shortage, including capital, of $278,000 for the year. The golf fund, I just took their numbers that they gave us, which we know were not correct, but just to give us an idea where we were, and plug those numbers in. And those numbers gives us a negative $460,000. And I did the same thing with the utility fund. So what it does is it gives you an idea what we want. Now, if you're looking at the budget, for example, the general fund, the challenge to Chris was 3904 I'm sorry, the challenge to Chris, I'm getting this right. It was 3921, which was a 7% increase, and the challenge on expenses was 3608, which was a 7% increase. So you can see, you can take those numbers and compare them. This is on the sheet that you didn't get.
Yes.
So you have to take my word for this one. But he's relatively close to what we wanted, to what we had asked or challenged him to come up with.
Okay, with the 3921 is his 3904? Yours said.
Yeah, this white sheet says 3921, he actually came up with 3904.
3904.
And the expenses was 3608, he actually came up with 3468.
Oh, okay. And I just thought he might do that.
So theoretically, I said the capital money is based on how I did it on this white sheet. Originally it was 312,000, now it's 435,000. That's prior to capital being accounted for. So he's I think in the general fund, he's pretty close.
Yes.
The utility fund, which is the other one, we had challenged him to be at 3213, which was a 10% increase, and he's at 3037. So he's off a couple $100,000 on that. Okay? On the expenses, we said.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
So this estimated actual, that's 2122, isn't it?
No, 22, 23.
3037. Oh, no. Where are you? I'm over here on the utility.
The blue.
The blue is what you'll see on these
Estimated
sheets. This is what they gave me. That's on these sheets. Yeah. His estimated revenue on the blue sheet is, it's 3430 for the assessments. You have to go to page.
Oh, yeah, okay.
For the assessments, it's 3430.
Got it. No, I don't need it. Assessments and maintenance fees.
Yeah,
For 2223 is 36015. Got it. Yep.
That's the
Yep.
total.
Yep.
That's the total.
Yes.
But the actual assessments, which is that first line, is 3430.
Okay, but that's 2122, not 2223. That's what got me messed up.
Oh, that would be correct. That would be an error on my part.
No problem.
2122, yes.
I thought that's what it meant.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure that I was reading this right.
So in the utility fund, the challenge to him was on revenues, 3213, he's given us 3037. The expenses were to hold them at 2097, and he's given us 1963. So he's lower on expenses. So in general, I think he's he's close to what we were talking about. That's total I'm talking about. Now we have to look at the individual pages to see how you guys feel about it. But I think he's pretty close to what we asked for.
I would agree. The only, I guess on the utility fund, did we put in price increase for water?
No, we haven't put that in the revenue yet, and we'll have that rate case final ready to present to the board June 20th, which will really drive that final utility budget.
Okay, so this doesn't even include any rate increases.
Correct.
It includes the impact fees.
Correct.
Or whatever we want
Yeah,
to
the
call
connection fees for the new housing,
fees,
right?
yeah. But it does not include any adjustment to water rates.
Correct.
So we're still, yeah.
But the increase that we'll see from the water rates, we're going to have to create an account to hold that money aside. So whatever that number comes up to, let's say 200,000, he's going to have to create an account that freezes that 200,000 for capital expenditures.
Yes.
Restricted account, like Florida Avenue.
Okay. So if there's any other questions on this one?
No.
Hey.
Good. The 713, that's what capital we say we're going to need for 20.
That is me going through the first capital request and my notes that I took during that and the changes
Okay.
that we've recommended.
Right.
So it's not set, and again, when we do capital next meeting, that'll all be spelled out. So that's just a guideline at this point.
Got it.
It's not set. Any other questions on this?
I will say too, on the utility side with that rate case, we've plugged in like the additional positions that we funded 4 months ago, where we've only filled one of them, but the operators, that's going all into that rate case, to cover the utility expenses. The principal and interest payments for an SRF loan are going into that rate case. I also put in a 2.5% franchise fee, we'll call it, which kind of formalizes a transfer of utility dollars back to the general fund. So that'll be shown in that rate case as a business expense to the utility. And really what that does is formalizes through the budget a transfer of those monies back to the board. And those revenues haven't been shown, on your side in that category. Previously it's just been, let's pull it from the reserve fund, but this will be like a new fund or a source saying, okay, yearly.
More like a legal transfer or a planned transfer.
Yeah, when you do it, when you're adopting the budget, you're adopting that transfer. So
Yes.
I'm really not concerned about the utility being able to operate within their means and a lot of this big backlog of projects. The general fund is really rubber's going to hit the road. And when people even talk about the dog park, we didn't put any capital in for dog park improvements. Yeah, that seems to be a hot potato topic with residents and some board members.
Well, the capital, that's
right.
We're going to talk about capital next meeting.
Right.
This meeting, we should just go through your pages here.
Right.
And see if there's any challenges or questions that you guys have on his individual accounts.
And anything you bring up today, I will take that information, I will port it over to Infomark. They'll make those changes and give us a version 2 of the budget to work from for the next meeting.
In this little fund that you said we'd have excess of, and we're going to save it, right? 200 and some thousand. Well, that will be in a fund where it's just for utilities, or would that be stuff that's available for us to spend anywhere?
Typically, when you're collecting it for connection fees, it goes into a restricted account.
Okay, so it will be just, only could be used for certain things in the utility and so on and so forth.
We're going to create one in both accounts.
Okay, well, we had one, and two, I'm just worried about, we had that one and Omar and Tanya did away with it. Can you do this with us not knowing again?
No, they didn't do away with it. They just did in the last 2 budget years
Well,
make that contribution. So
yeah,
it's,
well, it's the same thing as
spent down.
doing away with it or stop doing it. I mean, again, we're being politically correct, but they ended it.
Well, and you have 26 local governments in the state of Florida that make transfers from their franchise, whether it's solid waste, electric, or water and sewer, into the general fund through that.
But that was a board direction, and that's all I'm talking about. I mean, so
All right.
that can be done.
So Chris, if we don't use that $200,000, can we roll it over to next year?
Oh, yeah,
No,
sure.
it has to, now, wait a minute.
Capital.
Let me explain, so you guys understand. All the money, when we raise up the rates on the water and sewer.
Yeah.
That's going to be held until we need it for the capital.
Yeah,
for the
okay,
loans
that's
that
what I
we're-
meant.
For the
Okay,
loans that we're going to take
Yeah,
out.
okay.
We need to come up with somewhere in the area of an additional $800,000 a
Okay.
year.
That's kind of what that was my.
Between the general fund and the utility fund to offset if we were to borrow the $15 million outright. And again, this is all.
Yeah, that's just conjecture.
Yeah, we don't know yet for
Yep.
sure. I can tell you, we got one report back that's going to be $6 million if we go for it. We haven't gotten the big one back yet. So we're just trying to figure out how we're going to get there. So that's why he did not put the the rate increase in, because whatever that is going to be money that we can't touch anywhere.
Yeah, that's what my question was.
Right. So let's go through each of the pages, I guess. I guess we'll start with Chris, start page number 88. I guess ask if there's any problems with it and go from there. That would be the general fund, revenues and other sources. Because I have a problem on the first page, of course. Everybody on the right page?
I am on the right page.
88? I don't have a page number on mine.
Our actuals and our estimated membership dues is going from 62.
We're not going down. The estimate.
This is not easy to
why are we
find,
going
I'll
down?
tell you.
It's not. It was,
Which one you flip?
well, Chris should tell you.
Near the
I
end,
know the
here it
answer.
is.
For special events, we show
Right.
0.
Is this utility fund you got?
Huh?
And typically
Right here.
those special events, in the past, they had charges for some of those events. Where they admission fee or a $5 and everything we've been doing since, we really haven't charged money for it. And there's a few events in there, like the fireworks, the 4th of July, Christmas that we just fund.
This is revenue side. Got it.
Let's start with the very first line, because the very first line, I've already told Chris that I have a problem with.
5%?
The assessments.
Okay.
The 5% I have a problem with because, number one, we haven't decided on 5% yet.
No.
And number two, that money, if we were to decide on it, has not been taken and put on freeze or whatever you want to call it. So we can't commit to that 5% yet. My recommendation to Chris was, and in conversations we had with Amanda thinks on our own that the assessments we could probably raise them $50,000 and be able to achieve that. So that would make that 3430 somewhere around 3480 or something like that. I think we should change the 3601 to that number and then hold off on the rest until we know how much money we got to borrow and how much money we want to raise in assessments. And then that money.
Start over again. Say it one more time.
Okay.
Yeah.
He took the assessments up 5%.
Correct.
Yeah, and
He did not account for that money.
I think 5% is probably a good thing, whether we need it or not, but we raised the golf rate 5%. We might as well, if we assessments 5% too, I guess, but.
The 5% is a good number, but we have to hold that money aside to pay off the money that we're going to borrow, which we don't know either of those numbers as hard numbers right now.
Right.
So I don't think we ought to plan on that 5% right now because we don't know.
But this.
Usable money anyway.
Huh?
It's not usable money anyway.
It's not usable money, that's correct. That's correct.
Why is it there?
Huh?
Why is it there? I agree.
Because I made a mistake, I don't know.
We were looking at warm up because with inflation running 8%,
Oh,
you
I
think
know,
you at least,
that's where I'm going right now.
you at least have to go across the board. And
Keep in
we're
mind,
also,
when you're talking about assessments, we're thinking in our back of our mind, we're going to raise them 5% to cover the monies that we're borrowing. If you put 5% more on top of that, then you're talking about taking them up 10% this year. I don't think that's going to fly very good.
Oh.
That's my
So
point.
where'd you come up with that 50,000 you were talking about?
We sat down with Amanda and I said, Amanda, based on new building, based on homes being built on vacant lots, how much do you think we'll get on our own?
Okay.
And
just
she
from
said
growth.
$50,000 is a good number to use as a guideline. So if you went to the 3430 and you made it 3480,
And then took the other.
and then take the rest out and hold it until we decide how much we want to raise assessments, I think it's a better picture of what reality is.
and we'll also have on the 20th, when we bring those facility plans forward, we'll have that amount of borrowing and amortization schedule on those yearly P&I payments, so we can plug that right in and show you what it would cost if we
Yeah, 'cause you
borrowed
gotta
that
remember
money for
also, and I
stormwater.
didn't know, the number that I gave you at the last meeting about borrowing, I planned a 3.5% interest rate.
Oh.
Now Chris said before it's 0.2 or whatever.
1.9.
So I mean, I'm going to probably be high in the number that I thought we had to collect.
Right.
So until we get good numbers, I don't think we can guess it.
I agree.
So my challenge then would be to take that 36015 down to 3480 Anybody? Everybody
I
okay
mean-
with that?
Can we get to where you want to be?
I'm sorry?
Can we get to where, I mean, your challenge, I mean, can we get there, Chris?
Amanda said we can get there. I just said that.
Yeah, I think we
I
can
didn't
get
come
there,
up
but
with that
it's,
number on my own.
Oh, okay.
So instead of losing, we would be under another 120,000, so we'd be 400,000 in the red.
Yeah, I didn't figure it out, but yeah,
Yeah.
it would be worse. It's going to be worse by
120,000.
about 130,000.
And this is based on what we think we're going to spend next year on capital and everything else?
correct.
Okay,
Again,
which we'll probably take a knife to that, won't we? I'm sure to.
Well, on the utility side, we're
This has
going
got
to,
nothing to do with capital. Wait a minute, no, that's not.
No,
correct.
I know,
He
I
gave you a
know.
bad answer.
I know, but it's still saving money for one place all over.
if you want to know what these gentlemen are here for, they're part of the insurance adjustment team that's
Okay.
going around all the buildings and.
I guess
So yeah, when he reruns the numbers, there'll be about 130,000 worse. Is that what you're asking?
right, but which tells us that we're going to be under $400,000. And I don't like that as a plan.
But this is,
It's a beginning. I understand all that, but
he's going to be, it'll be like 300,000 excess for capital in the general fund. He's only taking it down.
okay, but I'm going all the way down to revenue over under expenditures.
Yeah, but that's including the capital.
I
And that's just
understand
the
that.
first pass.
I understand that. I just don't like the plan that says that we're going to be 400,000 short for our plan for the year.
At this time, that's what it will say. Until we do the capital and the second pass on the budget. Remember, the capital, we can still cut whatever we need to do is what we need to do. Now, there is one thing you guys don't know, which I guess I could pass on, is that we're going to end the year at $7.7 million between all the accounts. And if we go under the old premise of $6 million was our cutoff, we theoretically will have 1.7 million to play with.
Well, how much?
That's too close, though. I mean, that's,
What?
we just talk about it later, I guess. It's just, there's never been something, hell, when I got on the board, we had 14 million, you know, and we never worried about that. I mean, there wasn't worrying about it, so.
I think you have to worry about it now because we're talking about borrowing $15 million.
Yeah, I know, now it's a priority.
No, now it's something, now we can't kick it down the road anymore.
Yeah. Well, never mind, this is for another discussion, but.
Should have been quit passing on it a long time ago.
Yeah, we should have thought about that before we spent 2.2 million this year. I mean, theoretically, so I'll just say it and get it over with.
Michael,
Well, you got to spend the 2 million because South Swiftmont says.
So now we're gonna worry about what we're spending.
We got 600,000 back.
Michael.
Come on.
Yeah. No, I'm serious.
It's just bullshit.
Yeah, this is where we're starting and this is a good place to start. And like I said.
Yeah, and I
some of
agree.
these numbers
I
move
agree.
around.
We spent $2 million on the, $1.4 million on the restaurant.
Yeah.
You wanted that.
Yeah,
And that's in the past.
it didn't work out, did it?
All right?
And that was your baby.
Yeah. Well, it didn't work out.
Why are we going
So-
to sit here and argue about what we did in the past?
Michael.
Why don't we just move on?
Yep.
Yeah, and we'll also look, as Mike said, he's trying to find ways to save money in the equipment, and we're looking across the organization because we can't just go to the residents and keep saying we need more money, inflation, we
Let's
need
stay-
to show
And
them
that's
where
true,
we've
Michael's
saved.
right. Let's stay
You're
with the
right.
sheets.
You know,
On page 88, are there any more challenges?
I don't have a page 88. I don't have pages on my thing.
Yeah,
It's up in
Do
the
you?
right-hand corner.
Yeah, it's just
where it
small,
says
it's like an
agenda,
8 font.
up here, see it
Right
up
by the
here?
hole.
By the hole.
Revenues.
Let us know when you catch up.
Oh, I got it.
Are there any more questions on that page?
Yeah, 70,000 for reimbursement services, legal services. Where we think we're going to get that from?
Phase 5.
Huh?
Phase 5, the bonds.
Phase 5, the bonds?
I believe that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's accurate projection.
okay.
Any other questions on that page? Next page. Now, keep in mind also, the salaries and the payroll are all reflective of his new,
Org chart,
huh?
his new organization.
New organization, which you have. And I don't. Any questions on that page?
And I will mention that
25,000, is that because of that foreclosures and things? You have to, never mind.
And the challenges are across the board. In my discussions when I was over at the county Tuesday at their meeting, they actually, with heavy equipment for their landfill and the people that mow the right of ways and that, they were having such a hard problem with staff. They did a 10% across the board salary increase, which is kind of unheard of for county government.
10%?
10%. No, they weren't making
Here?
that. Yes.
Okay, page 90. Any challenges?
No, I think it's a challenge, but we got to do that some other time.
Huh?
Somehow we got to get control of our benefits package.
Yeah.
What? I didn't hear you.
Somehow, eventually, not right now, but we're going to have to get a hold of our control of our benefits package.
And we're looking into that. Ariel and I are having discussions, one about bidding our health insurance and that out separately from the county, because typically they've piggybacked it, but I've seen smaller groups that have gone in for the health insurance and saved money. And I know from the experience we had at Gateway from piggybacking that is we went in on our own and saved 11% of what we were doing on the county side. So we are going to shop that side. And there are some specific things we need to look at. You just give a set amount of money and say, well, here's a smorgasbord. You can choose these benefits. And in some cases too, you have people that get the family plan. The guy doesn't have any kids, but you're paying 85% of it, and he's getting $1,000 more a month in a health benefit, but he's doing the same job as the guy next to him.
Right.
I think, and it helps keep the people, and it is a benefit to the family, but
Yeah.
that's one of the things you have to look at.
Yep.
So are you shopping it now, Chris?
Yeah, we're putting it out to bid.
Oh,
Not
good, okay.
right now, but we will be.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a touchy thing, and I talked about it right before I became president and talked about it, and the cost per week for some of our employees just to insure them. And I don't want to get into arguing about this and that, but they made a heck of a lot of money just in insurance benefits. And I don't know what the answer is, but it's county government is what it is. And we're county government or federal government or state. There's no getting around it. There's just a lot of money. I mean, we were actually paying a few of them more money a week for health insurance than what we were paying them in salary. I mean, and I don't have the answer, and I don't want to get in it, but it's just, I don't know how we can keep affording stuff like that. So,
And
I agree with Craig, so.
Yeah, you can even look at it because as somebody's at an executive level is getting the same benefit package percentage wise as somebody down here. There's no upward mobility. The higher you go or the lower, it's all the same. But I think we need to look at all of it and come back and look for cost savings is what we're going to be looking for in equity.
Well, that's what you're doing. That's why you're shopping.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
But we also want to make sure, and I know what you guys are going to probably say, but I want to make sure that the employees have a good insurance plan. That's all I care.
Well, they have one. They got a good one.
Well, and you look at it another way, you're paying.
I never used it, so.
Well, you're paying somebody, say our premium is $850 a month for
Right.
a health, an employee. Oh, if you opt out, we'll give you $200 a
Right.
month. So where's this other 650 that all the other people are getting in a
Right.
benefit?
Well, I mean.
Okay,
Yeah,
page
okay.
90. Any other comments? You probably should explain the advertising line, even though there's no comments.
Yeah, I saw it.
I saw it too.
Huh? I mean, I think I know what it is, but
You're referring to the $55,000 in advertising?
I'm sorry?
You're referring to the $55,000 in advertising?
Why is it so much dramatically higher than this year?
That's, Chris, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was what was bumped in there in the instance that the board decided to move forward with the Advent Health contribution. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
So that was the estimated number that we had kind of thrown around. Obviously, we have not set a number. We have made no pledges, no contributions, but for the sake of working through budget to kind of show what that might look like, I believe that's what was plugged there, and that's why that number reflects what it does.
Now, on the advertising, does the golf also, use part of that?
No, they have their own.
But didn't they used to or no?
No, we would, on occasion, we would run different things and help them
Right.
with different pieces, but no, our budget here does not cover marketing and advertisement at the golf course.
On the, if it's for the hospital, that money's got to come out of there, and I would put it into capital.
We'll make that move.
And I don't, we've never decided on that number. You were supposed to get back to us with some information.
Chris has been
on
talking with Kristen.
What it cost us to run the exercise room, if I'm not mistaken, and that was going to be the basis for our contribution. So
Yeah, that
you can
foregone
estimate
costs.
it in the capital, but until you come back with that information, I don't think we can finalize it.
Okay, and we'll bring it back, and the hospital is still working on trying to find a space to move our equipment for that bridge program, because we told them that's,
Well, how close is the hospital to even doing this
oh, they're 3 years.
structure?
They're 3 years out till it's open.
So it's not even an issue right now. So for sure, it should go into capital and start it 3 years out.
Yeah.
Unless we have to give it to them up front.
We would probably have to start the pledge earlier, I would
It'd
imagine, for
it'd
them
be
to
a
start making
yearly-
those moves.
It'd be a yearly for 10 years, and that's why the 50,000.
I don't want to give it to them until they break ground. Just to
I
be on
thought
the
that-
safe
I thought
side.
we went- You
All
were,
right, so
you were going to
let's
find
make-
out where they were on their contribution to what percentage.
Yes, and I have not done that yet, but I will reach out to Kristen.
So what are we supposed to be giving them?
We don't know yet.
We haven't, there's been no pledge amount that's been,
Okay, that's what I thought.
that's what we're working on. We were going to see where they are as far as
So
their,
that's going to come out. What I'd like for you to consider, though, is if this newsletter goes off the ground and you're going to mail it, you're going to have to increase your cost of mailing it, and that should go in there.
yes, potentially we would have to. So I told you, we've got that meeting set on Monday so that we can start discussing costs and once we know what it looks like, the printer can give us an estimate and then we can compare it to that, because at the same time, the cost that we're spending every single month on a newsletter is now cut out because it's only happening every quarter. So I don't know if that's going to keep us relatively neutral too.
And there's no postage set up for that newsletter on the distribution right now, because it goes out with a utility bill and the utility department eats it. You know, it just goes out with a bill, and then we have some to hand out.
Put the cost of the newsletter in the budget.
Yes, once we do.
The
we will.
cost of the money we're giving to the hospital out of the budget and put it into capital. Okay? We good? Any
I
other
guess.
questions on that page? Okay, what?
I just, are we giving the wrong direction again, or what? Okay,
What direction do you want to give them?
I don't want to give them direction.
Yeah, and that should be in capital.
Okay, good.
Why don't you want to give them? Okay. Page 91. Any questions on that page? What is R&M site facilities?
Repair and
Repair and
maintenance.
maintenance.
I'm sorry?
Repair and maintenance. R&M, repair and maintenance.
Repair and maintenance to to what? We're going from 18,000 to 45,000.
Swimming pool, this building.
I know, but if it's correct, we only spent 18,000 this year. Why would we go to 45,000?
I'll have to look at that. I don't know why that number jumped up so much. I don't remember necessarily making that recommendation, so let me follow up on that.
But it's not just this building, Chris, it's all
Tennis
the.
courts, anything public, anything
Right,
recreated.
so
I
the maintenance
understand that.
building, your
And
building.
it's possible, let me go back and look at the notes. It's possible, Kelly is under the impression that we may be looking at new heaters, that our heaters may fail on the pool, that it seems like their life
New
is,
heaters on the pool would be a capital, wouldn't it?
How much are they?
It's it's repair and maintenance because you're
Right.
replacing it. Capital's new, but the heaters, $10,000, $12,000.
roughly,
apiece.
yes.
And how many are there?
Three.
So I thought, okay.
So
Okay.
Well, let her answer the question.
let's address that line, because I think I know what the answer is. You got a bad number in your estimate for this year? Yeah. If you look at your history, the number that you put in for this year makes no sense whatsoever.
The 45,000?
No, the 17,853.
It's gotta be wrong. Look at your
No, that's
actual
what you
year
spent
before.
this year, Ariel?
No, this says 2021, 2022 estimated actual, so I'm assuming that they took what we've been spending and then tried to make it seem like that was going to be the actual number at the end. Again, you'll have to let me look at that item.
Because we just got done resealing.
That was last year.
That was last year.
Okay, you're going to check that out for us?
I think we paid for it last year.
Can I just bring something real quick? Have we ever thought of going with solar for the pool?
Have we what?
Going with solar for the pool?
Not interested. I don't think, I would say no,
Why aren't you interested?
because of hail damage.
Oh, how many times you have hail in 10 years?
Only takes
Once,
Yeah.
yeah. And you have insurance.
Those heaters go down a lot.
Michael, bring it up. You
I
guys-
would like to look into, see if we could put solar on the pool. Okay? Less maintenance, no cost once we pay for it. I'd just like to look into it. Okay?
Is the
If you
board
don't
in
want to do
agreement with
it,
that?
don't do it, but I'm just saying I'd like to look into it, Chris.
You guys okay
Are
with
those
that?
heaters
I
gas?
mean, this is one guy you guys okay with that? That's fine, I don't care.
Yeah, we
I'd
can get a
rather
proposal
cost to
just
find
see.
out what
Okay,
it would be
I
to
mean,
put
what's-
it up there, but.
okay,
Well,
check it
I
out.
don't even know.
Thank
Yeah, we'll look at it. The heaters, we have issues with the heaters a
You're right,
lot,
we
so it
always
may
had
be an
issues.
option.
And they're expensive to run, their maintenance and all that. If we can go with solar, maybe put it on this building here and
Page 92, any challenges on that?
Go.
Page 93, any challenges on that?
Financial recording, is that Infomart?
What's that?
No, this is finance. That would be Infomart, wouldn't it, at 55,316?
Right.
Okay, thanks.
And
Oh, you're going back?
I thought you were on 92.
I went to 93. Yeah, 92 is Infomart. That big increase?
Yep.
And when some of those, our budget, when you see some of that red ink too, because we haven't done the transfer from salaries, like from Omar's salary and that covers it, but
Yeah, I know, yeah.
we'll tie all that up.
Yep.
So 92 is Infomart, that's why it's
Yep.
big. Page 93. Any challenges on that?
Just let you know.
why don't we have anything for contract labor? What the hell is it? The contract labor, there's nothing, I don't have anything on mine. And contract labor would be what, Chris?
Are you looking under code enforcement or?
No, I'm looking at,
What page are you on?
94.
93.
Oh.
Go back one.
I'm
Any
quicker
questions
than
on
you-
93?
I'm quicker than you two are.
Any questions on 93? I know we got one on 94.
There you go.
All right, page 94. Go ahead, Michael.
Contract labor, you don't have anything there. I mean, I don't have anything on my side, Chris.
We've got contractual labor, 8,300.
I mean, I don't know if that's temporary stuff that we use or, I know that every year we always hire a couple summer kids. Either, I don't know if you hired them in the pool, but I know that Joey and I.
That's security.
What?
This is for security.
Where?
Page 94
Page 94 is
security.
security.
Safety, security.
Yeah. And you don't have anything on that, but if you don't need it, you don't need it, okay.
But even if we did hire a couple
kids for the summer, it wouldn't be under security.
No,
All I'm
no,
saying.
it would be, but it's,
It'd be on the next page.
no, Mark, I don't know, where do you used to bring people from?
All right, page 95, I think you see it, the contractual labor, you see it there, Mike, there's
Oh, okay,
35,000. Is that what you were referring to?
Yeah, I think that's what it was, yeah, I'm sorry.
Any issues on 95? I got a challenge. I think landscape maintenance is too low. I think our grounds still look like hell. I don't think we give enough attention to our grounds.
Well, just so, when Dan was here, we did hire a company, and I think we still have them here, Chris, what's his name, W2 or whatever it was there. We hired them.
Cut trees.
Right. And maybe we should up that budget if that's what you want. But where are you talking about landscaping? Here, you talking about the boulevard?
Well,
Oh, you talking about the district office?
I'm talking district office, I'm talking about here. To a certain
North
extent, Sun and
entrance.
Lake Boulevard.
Yeah, but.
County, don't
North
tell me the
entrance.
county's gonna take care of it, because they
You're
don't.
right, you're right, they don't. I mean, so we've been doing that for years, taking care of it and get nothing back. Now, they're supposed to be giving us money back, which they never have.
Who?
The county. Yeah, well, check your notes. You know, but the county is supposed to be helping us maintain the boulevard.
First I've heard of it.
Okay.
I'll check and see. You could be right when they did
Yeah.
that
No, he's
original.
looking at 30,000
Yeah.
to 17.
That's how.
But they're going to maintain to their county minimum, so they
Yeah.
would give us what they would
Exactly.
be foregone. But I'll talk to Jonathan
Right,
about
so
that.
at least you could take that money,
I mean, we can't take care of the grounds around the clubhouse. I mean, Michael,
We don't
every
take care
year
of it.
I have to hear from Mr. Gilpin about how they don't take care of
But
the
the
high
golf,
grasses by the
I know,
lake.
but the golf
Yeah.
course takes care of that. That's nothing to do with us.
Are you defending the golf? What are you doing?
I'm not
You're on the
defending them,
board.
I'm just telling you who's doing it. I mean, I don't care if Mickey Mouse is doing it. I'm just telling you who does it.
The life and health insurance. We have an estimated actual in 22 of 43,000, but we're going to go down to 37.
Now, why do we go down on
How can you
those?
plan that?
Less people. Right?
It is less people,
It's
yeah,
less people.
exactly. But not in buildings and grounds in particular.
No, it'd be, yeah.
I'll have to check that.
Check that
Thank
one
you.
out. That's a good challenge. And I would check out the landscape maintenance. I don't care who's responsible for cutting this stuff, but I think we don't do a good job.
And it's gone down.
We spend millions of dollars and the place doesn't look like it should. I don't think it's presentable.
Then why don't we come up with a budget to upgrade the irrigation, to resod, certain areas we want to do. I mean, we got to start somewhere, right? And I agree with you.
We bought you a piece of equipment. We bought the maintenance staff a piece of equipment to take care of that.
Well, we haven't got it yet, have we?
Those mowers?
Right?
Should be soon.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that was 6-7 month, and they're
Right.
supposed to be in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Right, that's what they said.
Well, my question is, why has it gone from the actual of 2021 of 30,000 down to 17,000?
Good question.
And that estimated actual too is, they're breaking it out month by month. And so if we're going to make a big purchase, there's a big expense coming up. That's why that's just taking the total, dividing it by 12 and say, here's the estimated actual. It's like utilities, they do all their big sampling, thousands of dollars in the summer, but month to month it shows estimated actual based on 1/12, not on the actual for the year.
You think it's enough money? That's fine. I don't.
Oh, well,
I'd like to see it up, but
I don't either.
but we got to give them areas to get better. Do we want to get the boulevard better? Do we get money from the boulevard? I mean, from the county? Do we want to make the district office better? Well, we got to upgrade we got to upgrade things. The irrigation, we got to maybe resod, So if you want to do it, then let's find 2 or 3 areas to do it and fix it each year. to get it better. Like here, we did a lot of work out here.
That ain't our job.
Well, whose job is it?
It's our job.
Right, I know it's his job, but we gotta give him the money. I mean, what are you gonna do?
You want to give him a blank check?
Do a better job with what we have.
Here you go, Chris. Thank you.
Any other questions on that? On that page? Page 96. Any issues? Page 97. Page 98 is the capital, which we'll pass on until the next meeting. And that's the end of general. Utility fund. We'll start on page 101. Any challenges on 101? Page 102. Anybody? The payroll processing fee is in for more.
Okay.
Page 103.
Life and health insurance back on 90, on 102, need to look at that too. Shows it's coming down.
Which one?
Well, it doesn't over the actual from previous years, but, well, that 19,834 must just not. It should be all right, never mind. Excuse me.
Page 103. What is vehicle maintenance?
Oil changes, tires.
I mean, I guess the only thing that, it's a red flag because we only spent $499 this year and now you want 11 grand?
Contractual labor also went from an estimated actual 41,022 to nothing. Contractual labor.
No, yeah, I missed that. Contractual labor, that's going down to zero.
Didn't we move that someplace?
Well, we aren't using temporary workers. That's what they would do before. We had two temps in utilities and also one in an admin spot.
We don't intend to have any of that.
Oh, this was the meter readers and stuff like that?
Okay.
Okay. What about the vehicle maintenance? Is that just a bad number from this year?
I think it could be. I'll look at it a little closer, bad number, but there's some backlog on it too. And you notice that in security because they came up recently and Bob goes, all the rotors are bad, the air conditioning's bad, this. I mean, the truck was falling apart before they put it in the shop and all of a sudden he came in with this huge bill and I was like, hey, where were you guys? As this stuff was all falling apart. And I guess it wasn't until the air conditioning failed that we took a close look at it.
We still need to.
So we are buying a new security vehicle this year, right?
What's that?
There is one in the budget.
Okay.
It's capital.
Page 104.
Do you feel comfortable with that sludge disposal? You went down.
Well,
You got an actual of 40,000 in 22, you're down to 30,000 in the budget.
Well, that's what happened. We had this parts malfunction. We had the $23,000. So we've got that fixed now. We hope we don't have that happen again, or we need to create that big bill to haul it away.
Okay, so you feel okay with it?
Joey?
Yeah, I think this year's going to be a rocky year for that. Personally, I think that we need to get more sludge out the door. So
Well, then you better look at that number.
Look at that
Yeah.
number and come back to us.
Change it.
Change it.
What should it be?
I'd like to see a haul a week go out.
I'm sorry?
I don't know the actual number right now without pulling up the county's receipt and the disposal fee, but
Do that.
I think we need to be closer
Do
to a
that,
haul
get
a
back
week.
with us on what it
So for
is.
the next go-round, put a better number in that you're comfortable with. Uh,
We don't,
That would
Manhole
be it.
covers and rings.
Huh?
Are you on 105?
No, 105 is capital, so that's next meeting.
Oh, good.
No, I'd be at the end.
No, I just saw that 220,000.
What'd you say? Oh, 2 million too?
For manhole covers.
That's all the transfers.
Yeah, that, I know. It's a-
Okay, any questions? That's the first pass.
Wasn't too bad.
So what I need you to do is to make those few changes based on what we talked about. Update this for the next meeting.
Summary sheet, right?
And then prepare a capital sheet for each fund based on what we did at the last meeting that we can review as well. So there'll be 3 capital sheets and this sheet updated. And what else do we have to do? Oh, and then we're going to do the golf at the same time.
we're gonna do golf at the same time.
Yeah, they
Well,
haven't
this one
really
shouldn't
presented
take-
it yet.
This one shouldn't take long.
Yeah, I mean, this is just their numbers from the first time. He said they're close, but
Well, I just,
Well,
Michael said
I
his-
just want them to ask for what they really think they need and then let us.
We're flying
yeah,
up
well, they're supposed to tell us what they need.
Okay.
Supposedly.
Except I don't,
I'm gonna call you.
So
there's no growth in the memberships. I don't agree with them.
anybody have any questions on the first pass? Chris, I think for the
No.
most part,
It was a good job,
Yeah.
I think.
for the most part, you did a good job in the first pass. It took a lot less than it usually does. So, anybody have anything else they want to bring to the table?
Did we find out the address of where the modular is going?
Sure.
Thank you. And what are the assessments for modular?
Well, it's an improved lot. That's how it has
Okay.
water and sewer, so it's the same as any other home.
Okay.
It has sewer to that lot and everything? Well, it's got to be a pier then.
To
Joey?
my knowledge, if you go down Orduna and where Cortez crosses, where we're talking about putting the new road in,
That's not,
you keep driving, there's a water line and a sewer line that shoots
that we
back
put
to.
in,
Yeah, yes, but it catches the backside of Schumacher,
right.
so it loops in there. So it is.
That's
not give them the water. They just
That's
will never
not the
have a
little
road.
guy there, is it?
No, they just will not have a road to their property. If you would have to literally drive off the end of Orduna where it dead ends and keep going, I think it was 6 lots in. I was talking with Sunday about it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Any other questions? Any comments?
Nope.
We're done.
Good job.
We'll continue to investigate. Like I said, it went from here.